do. All I ever wanted was to make it through. Tell me, how about you? How about you? So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go from You say you love me, say you're thinking of me, but you're just lonely. Tell me I'm special, but to you I'm anybody. To you I'm anybody. To you I'm anybody. To you I'm anybody. Anybody. To you I'm anybody. To you I'm anybody. To you I'm anybody. You say you love me, say you're thinking of me, but you're just lonely. Tell me I'm special, but to you I'm anybody. 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 Anybody. But to you I'm anybody. But to you I'm anybody. But to you I'm anybody. Anybody. But to you. But to you. To you I'm anybody. To you I'm anybody. To you I'm anybody. Anybody. To you I'm anybody. To you I'm anybody. To you I'm anybody. Anybody. To you. To you. me what can I do now? Tell me what can I do now? Tell me what can I do now? Sometimes I let my guard down. Tell me what can I do now? Sometimes I let my guard down. Tell me what can I do now? Tell me what can I do Tell me what can I do Tell me what can Tell me what can I do Tell me what can I do Tell me what can I do now?
Hello everyone, it has been 7 weeks of some of the best Overwatch University Esports that we have seen, and it all comes to a head today. Warwick Angels versus the Oxford Omnics, seeing if Warwick can reclaim their crown, reclaim the title that they have held onto with an iron grip for so long, or whether Oxford are going to be able to do the impossible and manage to snag it from them. I am Egg to the Ruiner today, joined by Naggly Pins, and how are we feeling about this matchup?
Absolutely fantastic. It's all to play for. Warwick obviously are the defending champions at the moment. They are desperate to hold on to that title with an absolutely iron grip. But Oxford, they're after revenge.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of revenge, Oxford, that is something that they have been seeking, because I do believe they faced off in the last University Esports Finals as well. That was a little bit of a commiserations for them. A 4-0 sweep, utter dominance from Warwick, and Warwick have been dominating the entire tournament. They've been dominating the scene. It is generally the exception to see Warwick lose matches or even maps.
They have been going absolutely beast mode. They are really the team to beat at the moment. Obviously, Oxford themselves, no slouches, battling their way back through the lower bracket and absolutely going through an utter gauntlet to get here to the finals this evening. But Warwick, they are the team to beat. They've been put on absolutely showstopper after showstopper after showstopper. So, fingers crossed, that keeps on going.
Yeah, simply a phenomenal roster, and they've also had a lot of things both working in their favour and out of their favour at the same time. But at the beginning of the playoffs, we were seeing a lot of Doomfist play. It was either that or the Ramatra that the teams were playing around. And I mean, when you have a Doomfist, the caliber of Andreas, who I think we've discussed, one of the best Doomfists in Europe, without a doubt, one of the best in the world. It's a more tenuous statement, but it's certainly on the table, you know? The guy's an absolute freak. I played against him. It wasn't very nice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have as well. He is terrifying on that Doomfist. Like I say, definitely one of the best in Europe. Definitely one of the best that we've seen, you know, so far in this little circuit here. World, well, we'll have to wait and see how his career develops, get him against some slightly tougher opponents, but I could see it. I could definitely see him being up there in terms of Doomfist play. And initially, in these playoffs, Doomfist was an absolute menace. Now we don't see him quite so much, but as we look here at the bracket, you can see just how our teams managed to get here.
Yeah, I mean, Warwick have been utterly dominant. It's just exactly as we've said. Not a single map dropped all of this time. I'm willing to bet they barely were dropping points in that sequence as well. I mean, just absurd gameplay coming out from them. This is why they are the champions, you know? And Oxford, in the meantime, we were lucky enough to catch the game last week. Their very, very intense 5-map series against Loughborough. A loss that they attribute to silly Malga meta shenanigans, which, give it or take it, right? But then as we look towards the lower final, Oxford got their retribution. 3-0 over Loughborough. So finally securing that revenge, getting themselves the rematch with Warwick that they have been dreaming of. And hey, maybe they can get revenge again. You know, why stop at just one when you could have two?
Absolutely. I mean, that match against Loughborough last week was phenomenal. It was probably some of the most intense Overwatch that we've seen for quite a while. We love a good 5-mapper. Obviously, we won't have a 5-mapper. We might have a 7-mapper.
That would be a hell of a thing, wouldn't it?
Oh, my goodness.
Oxford would have to pull out a lot of shenanigans in order to be able to do that. And speaking of shenanigans, we can also kind of talk about the bad time, so to speak. The Malga meta that we were recently dealing with and discussing. And again, you would think that something like that would really harm a team like Warwick. For a team that relies so heavily on the Doomfist style, suddenly, well, Malga's an amazing matchup into the Doomfist, but they themselves claimed that Malga didn't phase them in the slightest. They say that they knew exactly what to do against Malga, they had no issues with it at all, and now Malga is far less prevalent. The Doomfist style, probably just going to come right back out.
Yeah, the tank meta at the moment is very sort of chaotic. You get to see a lot of heroes come out. I think we were discussing this a little bit in the pre-show. Really, the only thing that we don't see at the moment is tanks like Roadhog and Wrecking Ball. Reinhardt, I think, has seen the odd map here or there in the OWCS, but really nothing meaningful. So you can get away with playing a lot, which does sort of blow the meta wide open. It does mean that Oxford might manage to catch on to something and exploit that weakness, but then also it means that Andreas might just be able to crack out that Doomfist and absolutely terrorise his opponents.
And I think that when you're looking at the rosters of both of these teams, a key individual matchup to point out, I reckon J9 versus Renee. J9 is a prodigy level player, at least on the Tracer from what we have seen. Been seeing him kind of teetering around the tier 3, tier 2 team for quite a while. Absolute nutcase. I don't know what they put in the guy's cereal every single morning, but the thing with Warwick is they just get stronger every single year. University Esports, sometimes it's, oh, well, maybe the roll of the dice won't quite go our way this year, and our players are going to have to leave on do bigger and brighter things, like get a job or something boring like that, you know? However, J9 just showed up, just got to the university of first year, so going to be here for quite a while, and again, was already dominating the ladder before that. But you also have to put that next to Renee. And both of these teams have identified Renee as their strongest piece if you're Oxford, and if you're Warwick, the thing that needs to be shut down. Renee's hero pool is almost as massive as his brain. He is absurdly good at whatever character he seems to pick up, and DPS has shifted into being a lot more of a power role ever since the introduction of those hitbox changes, the DPS passive, everything such as that, and that's all things that can work out in the favor of Renee if you want to have a chance against Warwick, because I don't think that it's hearsay right now to say that Oxford are coming to this as the underdogs, but it's not like this is an impossible endeavor for them.
No, it's definitely not impossible. They are the underdogs. There's no disputing that. I think anyone in the face of Warwick is going to be the underdogs. I'm going to coin the term overdog. It's just the best way to describe them.
Oh boy.
They are the kings. It's their crown that everybody is after. But with the tank meta being so in flux, it does mean that a lot of pressure now comes into the DPS role. And we're seeing a lot of Sojourn in particular. And that Sojourn matchup could dictate a lot, depending on, what the tanks end up are. What the tanks end up are. Difficult sentence to say there. Depending on what the tanks end up being. There we go. And how much space these Sojourns have, what headshots they're managing to pull out, how much value they can get out of that character, which has really benefited from these new hitbox changes, projectile size adjustments, and so on and so forth. So I would say that's the one thing to keep an eye out on that Sojourn matchup. Who's going to come out on top?
And I think that it is right to be kind of calling attention to the Sojourn play. Don't entirely recall from Oxford who the Sojourn player is. Whether that be either Pineapple or Renee. I mean, they are both phenomenal talents, and they're going to have to deal with Matt Murray Sojourn. And aside from the Colosseo incident, which the OGs know about, Matt Murray Sojourn is absolutely sublime. I think most people would say far and away the best hero, and the ability to play that in a meta, especially because at the start of this tournament, Sojourn wasn't seeing a whole lot of time, a whole lot of gameplay. It certainly works in their favor. We do actually have the first map, which we are going to be throwing to right now. We do have our series set in stone here, going to be starting off on Control, and it is going to be Lijiang Tower. I do believe it's the pick of the higher seed first, and it will be loser picks from there on out. Warwick going over to Lijiang, and this seems standard. I don't think they play most other maps. This is kind of what they stick with for the most part. It's the bread and butter. It's what people know. It's what people enjoy. And at the end of the day, they want to give us a show, don't we? Because that's the entire point of all of this setup. All of this working with the wonderful staff of Confetti, putting on a show.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Lijiang Tower, for those of you who've been watching the OWCS, you do sort of end up with a map pick meta just as much as a hero meta, and Lijiang does seem to be the map which most teams have wanted to play around. We have obviously seen other ones, but it's no great surprise that we're going on to Lijiang first. Warwick making that choice. I think it's just pretty bog standard. I wouldn't read too much into what they want to play necessarily from this selection. There's lots of versatility that is possible, but...
Nagli, I have a secret.
Do you?
Yeah. I think Warwick will play Doomfist.
Do you?
Yeah.
I can't cope with this.
Now, I don't encourage people to bet on it, but if you wanted to make some easy money, then yes, you would probably bet on the fact that they are playing the Doomfist. And obviously, it's also important to look at the backlines as well. Kind of what's going to be played. It is almost always a Lucio and a Kiriko or a Moira. What you play depends on the tank, and some of the picks don't even make the most sense on paper, but when you execute in-game, it works out a little bit better. So for instance, you would think that a Moira works really well with a Mauga because of that heavy frontline pressure and the damage that you're able to deal. However, what we've been seeing at the highest level is that a lot of teams are favoring the Kiriko instead, simply because of the fact that you can take more angles, you can play slower. The Mauga doesn't necessarily need as much healing as you necessarily think they would due to the passive overhealth generation and the cardiac overdrive. Again, whether we see a lot of Mauga today is kind of up in the air. We did recently see, just yesterday, Twisted Minds did win the Overwatch Championship Series. They themselves played a little bit of Mauga, but also a fair amount of Ramatra as well. Again, to try and determine the single what is the best pick right now is absurd and very difficult to manage.
Yeah, I just don't think there is any singular must-pick tank at the moment, other than must-not-pick something like Wrecking Ball. Although, of course, I've said that now.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, I love Wrecking Ball.
They will rework Ball. Season 11, I believe, is when that's ready. Not sure what season we're on now. Haven't really been looking at the game a
10,
whole lot.
I believe.
10. Well, then we are going to be seeing the Wrecking Ball rework, but that's all looking to the future. So just a little bit of hearsay, a little bit of improvisation right now. And it's also been interesting talking about the backline, see how many players have had to step up on the Lucio. It feels like Lucio, almost for the entirety of Overwatch 2, has always been pretty good. Right? Just the team play environment, the fast-paced nature of things. Lucio's, it's impressive how much and how little they can be doing at any given time. I remember actually watching through a couple of Warwick VODs the other day and just looking at Thrall on the Lucio. Again, a character that they're not necessarily accustomed to playing all of the time, but still making it work and looking at certain fights being like, the man just did everything. Being in the right spot, healing when need be, speeding when need be, booping them back, charging the ult as quick as you can. It's frankly absurd, some of the things these Lucios are pulling out. So if you're looking at people who can solo carry, I mean, Lucio is a role where you can sort of do that, you know. It's not uncommon to see Lucios going under the radar, but getting player of the match performances anyway.
Yeah, Lucio, in fact, if you look back at the early days of Overwatch 1, Lucio players were your main support, and everyone else was the flex support, because you needed to have a Lucio at all times. And that has sort of come in and out over the years since then, but you still see it. He's an incredibly versatile character. He's one that you can do so much with just in terms of speeding your own team around. Obviously, he puts out a huge amount of healing when you consider that he can heal everybody all at once. And you can also pretty effectively police both flankers and those tanks. He can boot them back, deny angles that way, but he can also just get onto your flankers, hit him with those donuts, and potentially wipe out Widowmakers. If you've ever played Widowmaker in ranked, you know how frustrating it can be to have that little frog coming your way.
This sounds distinctly personal, my friend.
I do love playing Lucio, but I also love playing Widowmaker, and I've died an awful lot to some very talented Lucios. Maybe not talented, I'm not quite that high rank.
You sound like you need therapy.
I do.
Yes.
In many, many ways.
Yes, but finally, the wait is over. We've done all of the yapping and the stalling that is necessary in a time like this, but we're finally ready for the first map, Spring 2024, University Esports. A champion will be crowned here today, ladies and gentlemen. I suggest that you keep your eyes firmly glued to this screen.
Absolutely, we're rolling out here on Control Center for Lijiang. So this is a map which we usually see a lot of rush on. So we could potentially see the Mauga coming out here, but I would imagine we're more likely to see the Ramatra, and of course, you know, Andreas. We're always going to assume he's going to roll out on the Doomfist, although showing the Mauga at the moment.
Anything that's in the spawn room, as far as I'm concerned, isn't real. Until it is rolled out with, until they walk out of the spawn doors with the characters, I literally do not care. It would certainly be a hell of a thing. It would be very much a, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain situation for Andreas, of playing the Mauga eventually. Yeah, no, exactly.
There we go.
Sticking to the guns, Light Void on the Orisa, pick that we've been seeing quite a lot at the highest level recently. Here we go, opening it up, time to crown a champion.
Absolutely, and so on face value, this matchup is not particularly favourable for Andreas. That Doomfist, traditionally a bad matchup into the Orisa, but he's a master at the art, so is he going to be able to make it work? Fingers crossed.
Yeah, the pressure came out from Warwick. They tried to cycle with their wall, but not really getting a whole lot out of it. Longer things drag on here. Oxford can take position on the point. They have more pressure there. It's going to be on Warwick to try and take angles here. We see another wall out, not really getting a whole lot of value right now, and Oxford kind of sticking to their guns, chilling all the way back. And yeah, first flip going to be over the way of Oxford. Clean, smart play from them, not taking any risks. And again, as the longer that time goes on here, Warwick need to find something. It is on them to make something happen. Oxford can just sit pretty in this white room here.
Yeah, I think the Orisa is so powerful in terms of policing Warwick's positioning that it's just difficult to find an opening when she can just be every single place that you could possibly want to be. The main focus there, of course, is going to be on the Orisa denying the Doomfist from getting any cheeky picks. We see a rotation there. Finn using the amplification matrix. Not seen too
J9?
much.
Ooh, J9 just about living. Blizzard is going to be coming out. No one is going to be frozen up from Oxford, but Taranti forced into a rough position. The Immortality field is good, and the damage is good too for Oxford to deny that. Renee on the side. This is the one to look at. Catching two with the Deadeye. 1-2, buckle my shoe right there. Oh, and Light Void is smashed into a wall.
But I don't think you worry too much about that. The Orisa is going to get back, although from the looks of it, Warwick are going to regress. They're going to see this opening. They're going to seize upon it and take advantage of the fact that that Orisa is absent for the time being. And they do get the flip as well. Possibly catastrophic here if Oxford aren't able to regain that little beachhead.
Give Warwick an inch and they'll take a mile. That's what they're proving right now as Andreas tries to flip over onto Pineapple, but the beat is the go signal for Thrall for the rest of the team to run this straight on in, go down. Taranti matching with a beat of their own right now. Keep everything nice and tanky. Suzu timed absolutely perfectly, but again, you need to shut down Renee. Renee is able to play the game. That's just big 3 right now, and even 4 for Renee. It's just all Renee right now. In the kill feed, in the chat, just dominating.
Absolutely fantastic performance there. You can see, obviously, Matt Murray on the Sojourn, which is sort of as we predicted. The Cassidy there is sort of a good counterpart to the Sojourn, but has the advantage of being able to lock down Andreas Doomfist's movement a lot more effectively.
That's what you'd like to do as well. And that's a spear! That's going to be Matt Murray off the map! A stray right click going to be sending Matt Murray into the drink right now. Oxford have the aggression. They have the patience to just walk this one all the way through right now. Finn with another window, applying the pressure while you still can. Playing back into Andreas' Doomfist is always a risky choice, but it seems to be working out right now. But Warwick, you can never count them out of the fight. They got the individual skill, the individual talent when they need it most. And in the clutch situations, they've been in a couple of them. They can win this one out as Andreas sees what Light Void did with that spear and says, I'll do you one better. I'll take out both your supports instead.
Light Void sadly stranded in the server room there, unfortunately, unable to get any value out of his Baptiste's amplification matrix. But I don't think you worry too much about that. Oxford Omnics, they only need one fight now. And I think they might be able to do it. Matt Murray does have this Sojourn ultimate, the Overclock, coming online, but it's been a pretty quiet match for him so far, so...
Ooh, and actually going to get shut down. We were waxing lyrical about J9's Tracer, but swapping over to it now hasn't done a whole lot for the rest of the team, and the Warwick backline is being pressured right now. There was an angry Omnic running it down main onto you. It's trying to be Matt Murray on the high ground with this Overclock. Make a hero play happen. But Oxford have a little too much wherewithal for that. They can play patient. They know they can wait. Holding on to the point, 99% here. Oxford are just trying to maintain control here as Warwick need to get their touches in. There's the beat, but J9 died before they could get the beat. It's the Tracer going down. That's your main source of damage in this fight. It's all over but the crying now for Warwick Angels as Oxford push this one through. Taranti did end up using that beat. May have got cancelled there. A little bit of an Ajax coming out, but Finn still has this entire point locked down with the window. Still good for the Warwick Angels right now. Matt Murray is back, but it simply isn't enough at the end. Fight was never going the way of Warwick, unfortunately. Oxford, first point there. This counter comp seems to be doing wonders for him, Nagli.
Absolutely. It's sort of emblematic there. You could see Andreas sort of dipping and diving, just trying to find an opening, but when you're forced to either take the duel with the Orisa as Doomfist and get shut down, or take the duel against the Cassidy and get shut down, it's a really, really awkward position to be in, and Andreas not really able to leverage his experience on the Doomfist into those valuable picks there, unfortunately.
It was also always going to be a bit of a rough point for him. Control Center, it is kind of all about playing that white room, which is always very enclosed. A brawly, a tank like Orisa can do wonders there. You get to a bit of a more open point like this, especially with the danger of this bridge and the punches and the boops that you can get. It's certainly very possible for things to go wrong here for Oxford. And J9 actually going to be kind of making a permanent pick out of the Genji. Not something that we've seen a whole lot recently, but could be working as the damage is pumped through all the way onto Andreas. And Oxford are taking superior positioning right now. Again, it's an objective-based game, and Oxford's composition is about as good for controlling the point as you could possibly get right now. Thrall trying to kind of make the moves here, go on through, but falling incredibly low, and it is chased down, but that's Matt Murray, the alley-oop there, the combo from Thrall and Matt Murray, playing together so long, they got the synergy on lock right now. Hell of a pick for you to get right off the rip, as Warwick seem like they're winning this one out. J9 on the Genji, Matt Murray on the Sojourn. God, that's a dream duo. What more could you possibly want?
Yeah, and as you see here, you got Pineapple just trying to stall, get a few extra percent for the team there. Ultimately going to go down, but that's 25, 26. Yeah, we're going to stick at 25% to Oxford. It's a good start. And I think this Genji coming out from J9 maybe complements the sort of one-hit KO nature of the Doomfist a little bit better. Being able to dash in and get that sudden burst damage is maybe a little bit more effective when combined with the Doomfist than the Tracer would be, where you're doing a little bit more small bits peppering the opponents down. Obviously, it's been working out so far and does have that blade coming up this next fight, so Pineapple nearly going off the map.
Yeah, Mirrored Kitsune Rush is coming out. The point is an absolute minefield, a death trap right now, and Renee wants to take advantage of that. Catching J9 out there is pretty damn good. Beat was there from Thrall, and Oxford, they didn't charge their own, but it sure as hell didn't even matter. That's the overclock, though, from Matt Murray. Wants to end it all now, but not even Light Void has anything to say about it. I see your overclock, and I raise you my Terror Surge instead. Lock them all down like this. Even still, Warwick is still able to touch on this point. They're still getting the numbers through, getting that stall through, but eventually Oxford end up capping the point, and Warwick realised time to go big or go home.
Fantastic read there from Renee, realising J9 had that blade and just shutting him out of the fight before he had a chance to push Q and do God knows what to the Oxford Omnics. And now they're back in control, 50% and counting. What is J9 going to do with this blade?
Oh, they have the beat for it as well, but it's actually not going to be popped there. J9 just catching two, slicing, dicing. Exactly what you want. That's really good value right now. Not sure why Taranti didn't use that beat there. Maybe was in a bit of a risky position. Maybe thought that there's a chance I get Ajaxed out of this. Regardless, that's not an ult that you could be holding on to for too long. It's far too valuable to be, held onto and not used to give yourself an edge in the fight.
I think J9 just got value out of that blade instantly. Pretty much as soon as it was out of its sheath, that katana was cutting Oxford in half. So maybe Tarante just figured, not bother or save the beat into a fight which we're not immediately about to lose. They're pushing back onto the point now. Oxford are still in the lead. Let's hope they manage to keep this up just for the underdog narrative, if nothing else. J9 getting pressured out.
So aggressive, but it's actually the turntables onto Pineapple. J9 lured him into the trap, hook, line, and sinker. Finn too late with a Suzu to get the meaningful save onto Light Void right now, and the rest of Oxford running for the hills. They need to get out here. But Warwick are hungry. They're hungry for the kills. They're hungry for the win because they know that Oxford need to retouch this. Looks like they may be able to do it, though.
Rene does get a cheeky pick on J9 there somehow. I'm not quite sure how exactly that happened, but that is a big opening for Oxford now, especially with this Kitsune Rush and with Light Void back on the Orisa. I would be shocked if Finn doesn't pop that Kitsune Rush right about now, and they just run in.
Yeah, absolutely zero respect for the block of Andreas right now as the speed comes through, and that's Thrall called out again. Once again, we've been noticing it from Renee, getting value with the zoning ultimate, working as well. But Andreas is still on the point, charged up, nice and beefy, has so little health left, and Pineapple looking to clean this one up. Cleaner than your damn windshield wiper right now is Pineapple on the point with a three-piece. And now Oxford are on the precipice of closing out our first map, Nagley.
Yeah, we're still in last fight territory now. Pineapple coming up absolutely clutch and taking out 3 of the Warwick Angels there. Not too much, economically speaking, for Oxford at the moment. They do have that Terror Surge coming up online for Light Void, but then the only thing Warwick has is the Genji Blade. Which of these two ultimates is going to end up turning the tide in the favour of its team? Andres is already dead. That is absolutely catastrophic.
Yeah, J9 actually just getting moved all about the place, not able to get anything with the blade! The peel from Oxford is absolutely phenomenal! It was the Terror Surge, or the Suzu, or the Boop, or anything that could be done to J9, short of killing the man outright, to deny the value there as Thrall falls at the end of that as well. Andreas is back on the point, can always make a little bit of magic happen right now, but Oxford have the numbers, they have the time, they have the space to work this one through, but they don't have the kills, and that's what you need at the end of the day, and the longer that you go on here, the more time you're giving for Warwick to retouch this, to get back on. Now J9's here, can always deal some damage. Renee pushing way too far there, getting caught out by Key Dog. The Kitsune Rush and the beat is here. Keep Oxford tanky on the point. Try and get the trades where you can, because it's now or never, and you are too late. Key Dog on the point with a Kitsune Rush now. Warwick going to be running it through with reckless abandon, and Matt Murray popping the overclock, saving this point, saving this map right now for the Warwick Angels. Call them the Angels, but this performance is absolutely devilish.
That was absolutely skin of your teeth stuff, and as that second round rolls over there, 1-1 on Lee Jeng Tower. Phenomenal. I don't know what happened with that blade with J9. Someone snuck into his locker room and swapped that katana out for a wiffle bat or something.
Pool noodle, more like.
Pool noodle. Like, unfortunately, not able to get much out of that, but it doesn't matter. they managed to come back in. Matt Murray picks up the slack with that overclock in the next fight. I don't know how they managed to keep that overtime ticking for as long as they did, but good golly, Miss Molly, that was an absolute showstopper. And now we get to go to a round 3.
Nagley, I have an answer. Magic. It's the only explanation of how Warwick are consistently pulling out these clutches all of the damn time. They had zero reason to be winning that fight. Literally none. Yet they did it anyway. As we do roll out here onto Night Market, final point for this first map here. It's going to do a whole lot in deciding where this series will go, but I feel like this is far closer than anyone could have anticipated.
Oh yes, absolutely. This is exactly the sort of match that we were hoping for when we saw that we were watching these two teams. J9 sticking out on the Genji, I think definitely it is turning out to be a much better companion to the Doomfist than the Tracer. Lightvoid, unfortunately, not able to get too much in terms of shutting out the Doomfist in the last round, but the map geometry, of course, very different on this point, so maybe that'll turn different.
You can see how Andreas has to play, and the answer is scared. And normally you're used to him taking over every single lobby. You can call it scared, you can call it reserved, whatever the hell you want. But right now, the only thing that we're noticing is J9 dead in the kill feed. Again, the more time that goes in, it feels like Warwick are almost a little too desperate to try and get a pick, to try and make a play happen. And they just end up falling for it, with J9 going down early and the point being flipped in favour of Oxford. It'll be very good for Warwick to just escape with their lives, unless Matt Murray has something to say about it.
Yep, oh, that's another big javelin there. Nearly a second environmental kill.
J9's
for
so low. Yes.
There he is.
Yeah, J9 eventually going to be falling there. So trade is 1-for-1, but losing your Kiriko is a really notable pick. So it's on Oxford to try and maybe just touch this point out in a little bit. But no, it is going to be the Kitsune rush actually invested from Finn in a really strange position. But whatever you can do to enable Renee, that guy's absolutely nuts. That guy's hitting shots like there's no tomorrow. So it seems to be working anyways. Pineapple also gets onto this point, has a pulse bomb. Someone call the police right now, because the things that we are seeing is criminal.
What I'm getting from this is that Oxford has a really, really good sense of exactly what they want to do. I feel like they understand that Warwick maybe mechanically has the advantage, but they're just doing a better job of managing the objective. They got that first, they got the first capture in all of these rounds so far, and they're just doing so good eking out extra percentage points wherever they can, stalling as long as possible, and then re-engaging wherever they're likely to find even the tiniest hair of an advantage in these fights.
Yeah, pushing this one all the way through right now with that Kitsune rush. Eventually it's Oxford bouncing back with the beat of their own. But that HP just came about as quickly as it, just left as quickly as it came there, unfortunately. Matt Murray falling there, did have the overclock online, but not doing, and it's still J9 trying to get value with this blade, not quite catching Taranti at the end right now. And yeah, the trades are good, but Oxford still have the point. They're still getting these picks. Both of the supports are now down right now. Yeah, Lightvoid gave their life for it, but may not even be caring in that aspect right now, because it's all a matter of time right now as we get 85% on the point to stick on to Andreas. We were typing up Renee at the start of this, but Pineapple's been putting in an absolute masterclass, a sublime performance on the Tracer thus far. Warwick have to touch this. Only 5% left on the point for them to be able to do that. Is this touch going to be coming through? It's going to be desperation. Yes, J9 is there on the corner of things as Thrall tries to keep on this wall as well. Andreas is coming in from one side. Remember, Warwick can clutch up these scenarios, but that's the Kitsune rush. Andreas narrowly avoiding the C9 there, but with J9 down, it's all over. But the crying, and it seems like the reign of dominance, a chink in the armor maybe of Warwick, that Oxford are seeking to exploit right now. The fight sure as hell ain't over yet, and Renee is so low. Don't tell me that Warwick clutch out another fight right now. That would be absolutely criminal as the overtime meter ticks down. Thrall is still there. This could still go either way. The time goes on. This is do or die situation for all these teams. The Lightvoid is down. There's no tank presence now. If you're Oxford and Warwick end up pushing this one all the way through, they have numbers on the point, but Finn diffs his counterpart with the headshots at the end. Beat is here from Taranti as well, and the Suzu, the support, the healing. It's all too much for burden for Warwick to bear. Andreas able to get back into the point in all of this chaos right now, but finally, the first map is over, and by the skin of their teeth, Oxford showing that Warwick are very vincible.
Oh my goodness, that was, I had to take a moment there to regain my breath. That was absolutely ridiculous. Andres, they get in play of the game. It's a bit of a commiseration prize, the wooden spoon there. Oxford just absolutely reading exactly where they needed to be, playing the objective game rather than the mechanics game, and absolutely pulling that one from the jaws of defeat. Good God, that was not at all what we were expecting to see.
The thing with Warwick is you just can't count them out.
No.
We saw in that second round, they had no right to take it to that third sub point. They managed it anyway. They got the numbers, they got the picks. In these kind of do-or-die situations, it seems to be working out for them. And even there, when Night Market was so dominant for the side of Oxford, so one-sided, even at the end, Warwick still managed to work it out. And you have to think maybe fatigue may set in at some point for any of these players right now, as we do end up getting to see a couple of replays right now. But yeah, okay, not entirely sure what happened there. Very unfortunate, but we can move on from that. It was just incredibly intriguing to see that Warwick is still able to clutch these out, even in these do-or-die scenarios. I mean, it's just brilliant stuff.
They've got that dog in them, They just do not give up, and they know that they don't have to. The discipline you're seeing from this, from all of the players on Warwick there, refusing to give up, never what. And
I'm not finishing it. I'm not saying it. You can't make me.
Damn, I should have put that in your contract. They just refuse to give up, and they know they don't have to, and they are able to take this absolutely to the brink every single time. As you say, even on that final round where, okay, the percentage-wise, it was a bit of a lock-up. That whole final fight, it genuinely could have gone either way. It's that sort of white-knuckle, tense Overwatch that we want to see for our finals here. That's the dream. That's what you want to cast, it's what you want to watch.
Well, anyone who predicted the Warwick 4-0, maybe go back to the casino, try and ask for your money back. They'll probably say no, because it's a hell of an industry, that. But it's certainly going to be a hell of a series. At the very least, we get 5 maps out of this. 7, maybe. Again, you can't count Warwick out of this. Both of these teams, something that we are going to mention while we're kind of sitting here discussing, both these teams have actually had Overwatch League level coaching from former London Spitfire coaches. Commander X did some coaching for Oxford, and then Christopher did some coaching for Warwick. Quite literally, Warwick, you're already the best team. Why are you getting Overwatch League coaching? That is terrifying. Please give the rest of us a chance.
Yeah, so it's battle of the two coaches from London Spitfire's absolute dream run.
Whoever wins this, whoever wins this, it will just prove that's the better coach.
That's the reason that London did so well in the final season of the Overwatch League. Was it Christopher? Was it Mr. X? Not Mr. X. Commander X.
Commander X.
Mr. X is the caster. Terribly sorry. Christopher, an absolutely phenomenal coach. Obviously, was previously head coach for the London Spitfire. Was assistant coach in the Philadelphia Fusion. A great long storied history there, and paying dividends. Clearly, a very strong performance from his proteges this time.
Yeah, and something compositionally interesting that we wanted to discuss from the side of Warwick is J9's Genji pick. Now, this is not questioning the idea of J9 playing Genji in the slightest. Guy's an absolute nutcase, anything he plays, but we haven't been seeing a whole lot of that recently, and maybe we want to think, as I think we have a look at our next map, while we have a look at our next map, tell us maybe a little bit about why they kind of swapped off the Tracer and went over to that Genji.
I think Tracer, generally speaking, is just a bit of a gnat. She's a menace. She's buzzing around the map, she's harassing people, and yes, okay, occasionally you do get those absolutely beautiful one-clip moments where you just delete one of your opponents, but I think generally speaking that dash and the resets, as it turns out we're going to at King's Row up next, selected by Warwick once again. I think Genji, with that Swift Strike, I believe it's called officially, the Genji Dash, as it's known more informally, I think he's just a bit more effective in terms of finishing up those kills that the Doomfist might be setting up, and I don't know, it just, the deflect maybe got a little bit more survivability, just a very different style of play, even though they're both flankers, and it just exposed a little something that Warwick was able to take a bit more advantage of.
You can definitely play your frontline a lot better as Genji.
Yeah.
As speaking of frontline, we actually move over to one of the more frontline heavy maps in the game, King's Row. This was a pick from Warwick. It's a map they're very comfortable with. It is also a map that we earlier in this tournament have seen some interesting pocket strats with, haven't we? Something teleporting bastion, something cheese comp, something these guys are trolling my lobby. I don't know, man, but if it's working for them, it might. But obviously they're picking Kings. It's a comfortable map for just about everyone. It seems like they are more comfortable winning the frontline war against Oxford, despite the fact that Light Void has put on such a clinic on Orisa thus far.
Yes, and as we get into the lobby here, we did a few weeks ago see Warwick roll out on the Symmetra Bastion strategy for a whole one fight. Didn't go very well for them, and they swapped immediately onto this Doomfist style that we're seeing a little bit more.
I mean, it's not like this is the finals or anything, you know? You can experiment while you're here.
Something so ridiculous. And I think if we do see Warwick come out with that, maybe it would be a bit of a sign of hubris. Hopefully, that Lijiang Tower map has whipped some sense into them, and they're starting to realise that maybe they're not quite as insurmountable as they thought they were. You see Andreas showing the Doomfist there. No sign of the Symmetra Bastion so far.
Well, they're on the defensive first, so it's not like that's something that they're going to be sticking with for the entirety of the game. You never know with Warwick. They do like to get a little bit silly. They have a lot of fun. I think something that's quite nice about the Angels is that despite the fact that they are an incredibly strong team, they never really... They don't have that much of an ego, you know? They tend to be relatively chilled out. They aren't too... they aren't too in their own heads about it, you know? They're chill, for the most part. And does Light refer to your impact on the game, and Void refer to the skill gap between our teams.
That's some interesting trash talk there.
Warwick like to do that.
The observers there, getting rid of that. No thank you. Professional game chat only, which in this case means no game chat. But we see Oxford rolling out on the attack on the Ramatra. Traditionally less effective into the Doomfist than the Orisa. Orisa obviously designed both in lore and in game. It often feels like to shut down the Doomfist. Ramatra can do much the same, but it's maybe not quite as effective on paper. But you never know.
When you're playing the Ram, your focus isn't really on the Doomfist as much as you can. It's more on being a big meat shield, living, and then dealing some damage to the squishies where you can. Orisa, it's very much, yeah, like you are focusing down this Doom. But Oxford, despite winning out on that Orisa style initially, seems like they want to swap off anyway. And you can see right now, there's something that Ramatra kind of struggles with. Andreas just kind of runs past them all, but ends up getting caught out there without a whole load of cooldowns. Going to have to back all the way up. And in this time that Warwick need to get healed up, they've had their power spike. Now it's time for Oxford to go through until Light Void just falls over, I guess.
Okay, J9 finding an opening there, coming through what I presume was Hotel, as Rene then gets punished on that high ground as well. You can see what Oxford were trying to do there. They were trying to take control of that back high ground, whilst Light Void took a little bit of control on the point and policed the Doomfist, but unfortunately it didn't quite work out for them that way. They, I imagine they're going to make the same rotation once again. Pineapple does have that pulse bomb, mirrored by J9, who's nearly there himself, playing the Tracer this time rather than the Genji. Rene's already dead.
And that's the timing. The execution just came through. And say what you will about Cass's strength, the anti-dive potential there, but at the end of the day, is a very slow-moving, very big hitbox target. You'll shoot him at the same time, probably going to die. Not a whole lot that Cowboy can really do to get out of that situation.
Yeah, he's pretty easy to blow up when you have that focus fire. He does have some level of damage mitigation with that combat role, I suppose. But let's be real, he's so easy to focus down. He's taking that high ground now. He's only at half health though. The question is he going to be able to take it off Matt Murray? It's Pineapple scoping around for this pulse bomb, but it's meaningless because Rene's dead once again.
Remember earlier when we were talking about how the players shut down B Rene? Seems like Warwick's taking that maybe a little too literally. They aren't really letting Rene play the game. 70% to an ult at this stage, 2.5 minutes into the game, is really rough as that Kitsune Rush goes into this enclosed environment right now. And Oxford, they're just stuck in a little bit of a death trap right now. They can't get out of here, and it's not like their players coming back from spawn get back to them, and they're just spawn camping Rene. And I don't know what Oxford roster we were seeing in the last map, but where have they gone? Bring them back.
I think maybe I don't know, the map geometry is different, and maybe it's simply that Warwick has gone Super Saiyan because they're just that angry about the disrespect being shown to them, deigning to lose a map. They do manage to take a little bit more point progress now. They're finally established on that back high ground, and Warwick are sort of hiding, cowering, dare I say, a little bit in that hotel, but not for long.
Yeah, and it is going to be a whole host of ultimates all coming out at the exact same time. Beat for beat from both these teams. Light Void annihilating to try and get that damage through. Stay nice and consistent on the point, but you press all the Qs at the same time. Eventually something's got to give, and that's going to be the supports, the backline of Oxford going down. The pick onto Key Dog being all but neutered for the side of Oxford right now. And as you only really got 50% on the point here and 20 seconds left. Oh no, Oxford, you used all of your ults there. Oh no.
Light Void swapping onto the Doomfist himself. There's only a few seconds left in this one. the upshot is that they did manage to get some percentage on the board, so they're not only playing for a draw, but I think J9 managing to get that stick, nothing coming out of it.
Forces the immortality field, which could always be valuable here, and Lightvoid wants to step up to Andreas on the Doomfist. What you doing, man? Go back to the spawn room where you belong, says Andreas, as Renee tries to push this one through. Matt Murray's all nice and secured on the high ground. Right now, it's just a counterpart differential from each individual member of Warwick, and this is absolutely ludicrous. We just went from that much of a nail-biter to this King's attack. Oh no, Oxford. Don't tell me you've run out of steam after the first map.
Oh dear, not ideal at all. But like I say, they did manage to get some percentage on the board, 49.3%. Not exactly auspicious, but they do have something to play for. They're not guaranteed a draw at best. Thankfully, no one likes a draw. Sometimes it feels like a bit of a waste of time. It would ramp the ante up a little bit. They do have something to play for, but it's a very, very tall order, managing to hold first to only 50% in the face of the aggression coming out from Andreas. A Doomfist like this is capable of controlling the tempo and ramping the tempo up so much that it's incredibly difficult to, honestly, even keep your head in the face of it, let alone manage to hold on to that point when you've got so little margin for error. J9 showing the Genji now already once again. Maybe a bit of a pocket pick there, wanting to attack with the Genji and defend with the Tracer, which I can see.
I mean, whatever works for you, you know. Warwick don't seem to be pulling out their silly, goofy shenanigans that we tend to see on Kings. They're sticking with the comp that allow them to essentially full hold the first point right now. I mean, you can kind of question Oxford's decision to go over to that Ramatra when the Orisa was working so well for them. Maybe it's a King's Row thing, they feel they have to play the Brawl, but when something isn't broke, you don't have to fix it. Oh my god, Nagley, they're doing it. I've never been so excited in my life. No. They're doing the thing! They're doing the thing!
Oh my goodness. Teleport straight onto that balcony there and rotate through Hotel. Matt Murray going to enter into wheels mode. Looks like Oxford have read it already. Are they going to be able to adapt and shut this down? Or is it going to be one cheesy fight?
Well, that's what we're going to have to see right now. And you can't back up with your Oxford because J9 has that main angle covered on the Widowmaker. Shades of a little bit of a great bamboozle here. But it has been Warwick who have been forced all the way right now. Jewel is out here between the Tracer and the Widowmaker. That's Pineapple thinking that doesn't really want to partake in that right now. Cycle comes through again. Warwick trying to really burn down Lightvoid right now, but with no pressure. Anyone on the high ground right now, and Pineapple on this back angle as well to take out Matt Murray's Bastion. I mean, look, thanks for the show. Oh, wait, Lightvoid's dead. Never mind. Okay. Well, I was going to make a snarky comment about Warwick being a little bit odd here, but with Pineapple and Lightvoid dead, there's still opportunity for them to get back into this, especially because their main composition swaps over to the, you know, the faster, more mobile characters anyway.
Crucial there is the fact that Oxford managed to draw that one fight out for just so long. They didn't just defeat the Bastion sim strategy immediately and then Warwick go and swap over to something a bit more measured.
Oh, there it is.
Played the clock. I'm not sure it's going to make much of a difference in the end, though.
Yeah, you're hiding behind like that window like it's going to do you a whole lot of good, Renee, but unfortunately not quite. And a late kill onto Matt Murray is not going to be worth it. But let's be honest, they won that on the defensive, Warwick did. Absolutely phenomenal play coming out there on the defensive side of things. As they tie up this series, yeah, they're still in this.
Yes, they are. I think realistically, Oxford defended that about as well as they could be expected to. Matt Murray here taking the play of the game. Oxford, I feel like they lost that in their attack, really. It wasn't so much about how well of a defense they had, it was more just that they didn't manage to get anything moving on their attack. Literally, that payload stayed exactly where it was in that garage.
Yes. The citizens of Kingswell will sleep better for one more night. Because for anyone who doesn't know, a fun fact, the payload that you're pushing on Kings Row is an EMP, which is specifically designed to target the Omnic population in Kings Row, which is morally dubious, to say the least. However, we're not commenting on that. It's a video game,
no,
right?
You have a moral imperative to stop that EMP from reaching Kings Row 3rd, which, I mean, not that you need.
Well, Warwick managed it. Warwick managed it phenomenally. So thanks, Warwick, unironically saving the Omnics there. We're going to see whether that's something that works out in their favor in the long term. But again, sublime gameplay coming through. You really have to question the decision of Oxford to swap off of the Orisa, the thing that was policing Andreas and doing so much. But also at the same time, Hybrid is a phenomenally strong point. The way it plays, where it's kind of a little bit slower and you can play your cycles more effectively. You don't necessarily have to think about contesting the point quite as hard. That just kind of worked for Warwick. Hybrid is always going to be a very rough map to go into there. So if Oxford were going to lose anything, it was certainly this one.
Yeah, I feel like there's a bit of an instinct maybe to play the Orisa when you want to play defensively and play the Ramatra when you want to play offensively. And on paper, I suppose that makes sense, but it's a little bit surface level analysis, to be honest. I feel like if you can win Lijiang Tower in that nail-biting fashion with the Orisa, then you can definitely hope to pull at something out on King's Row first and get work done on it. But obviously they just decided, the coaching decision maybe, players' decision in the lobby, going to roll out with Ramatra instead, and well, saw how that played out for them.
Yeah, and this is where you could see the Warwick DPS shine a little bit more. When Matt Murray and J9 had the space to deal with, when they weren't being constantly policed, you could see J9 locking that Tracer and just making absolute miracles out of it. I'm not sure the guy missed a Pulse Bomb. Whenever you stick anything, even if you're not killing anything, you're forcing a Suzu, a Lamp, or some kind of defensive cooldown or something like that. And with the hitbox changes, those are easier to hit. Combine that with the fact that J9 is already a phenomenal Tracer player who was hitting them anyway, then that seems to be perfectly fine.
Yeah, you always force out an important cooldown if it's the Suzu, or in the case of Oxford, the Immortality Field. But that's quite enough of that. I hear we've got a break ready to go to.
That would be correct. We'll see you after this break very shortly. 1-on-1 right now. It's going to be a nail biter. Don't go anywhere. 1-1 right now between the Warwick Angels and the Oxford Omnics. Seems like we have a little bit of a series on our hands. Obviously, Oxford started off nice and hot on Lijiang with a crispy, sizzling performance to take that first map away and set things in their motion. But Warwick, you can never count them out, and they bounce right back with one of the most brutal defenses of Kings that we have seen in this tournament thus far, not giving even the first point, only 50% over to Oxford. It was very one-sided, Nagley.
Yes, Kings Row definitely was very, very one-sided on that one. Lijiang was an absolute nail-biter, and hopefully Oxford Omnics shake some of the dust out of their head and they go back to playing the Orisa, which worked so fantastically for them on Lijiang. As we take a look at the map, which we have, we're going to Suravasa.
I mean, there are 2 flashpoints in the game, which for most teams means that there is 1 flashpoint in the game. That is Suravasa. Again, it seems like time has gone on a little bit more, and people are learning how to play these maps a hell of a lot better. When you're thinking about compositions, I think that things work kind of better here for Oxford, because a big thing that Warwick's composition struggle with is point pressure, right? You wouldn't think it, given how they clutched up on that Lijiang point, Gardens earlier, but they don't have a whole lot of point pressure. Doom can't really sit in one spot and live for that long. They always have to move about, especially when you compare it to characters like Orisa and Cassidy, who can really just lock an area down. Flashpoint, it's really big about just playing the point, you know? On other maps, you can maybe afford to give a little bit of point presence to the enemy team in order to get yourself slightly better positioning. Flashpoint, you really can't afford to do that. So, at least theoretically, Oxford might have the advantage here, based on the way that they play the game, which is around the objective, dummy.
Yes, very, very intelligent play we saw from Lijiang Tower. They were just policing the objective, getting there first, getting the cap first every single time. And so, on these more objective-focused Flashpoint maps, hopefully, they'll be able to put on more or less the same show. Once again, the big question then is going to be if Light Void is going to go for the Orisa, or the Ramatra, or even the bad ending, something different. Who knows?
The Mauga, maybe.
The Mauga,
it would be a little wild. We've seen Mauga work successfully. Again, teams such as Twisted Minds have still been playing it over in the Overwatch Championship Series, but after the recent nerfs, it really isn't that good a matchup. And when we were speaking to Warwick earlier, they told me themselves that they seem to have a lock on Mauga anyway. Even when that, you know, silly fun time, haha, goofy R meta was happening, they were fine. I call it a goofy R meta because it's the goofy R meta that knocked Nottingham out of the tournament in pretty devastating fashion.
Yeah, Mauga clearly a dishonest, unfair hero.
Yes!
I'm not sure I agree with that, but there you go. Light Void coming out on the Orisa this time, perhaps learning from the shenanigans on Kings Row that where their bread is buttered. And they're taking a slightly unorthodox backwards route onto the point here.
Yeah, and the TP came through from Warwick, so they're also going to get superior positioning here. Instead, Renee with a damn laser beam as a gun. What the hell was that? Young man, you can't do things like that.
Bro just absolutely wiping the head off Keydog. And that is a massive change in momentum instantly for the Oxford Omnics. If they weren't going to get that cap immediately anyway, they definitely were as soon as the Kiriko's out of play.
Keydog be like, nah, I'm just going to peek this angle real quick. Renee says, no, you're not.
Bro got copy-pasted back to spawn. Finn, interestingly now, playing the Kiriko rather than the Baptiste. I mean, Flashpoint is always a lot more mobile, a lot more dynamic. I've heard it as like the Lucio game mode. You do need to be a lot more mobile on this game mode. So it makes sense. They're playing a little bit less statically, and so you're swapping off to the Kiriko rather than the Baptiste. And it's infinitely more frag potential, in my opinion.
Ooh, but Taranti ends up falling there. That's the J9 special right now, with Pineapple with an absolutely stunning bit of tracking right now. But it's Andreas on the point, and yeah, that's just too many people going down there, unfortunately. The timing was bad. The moment you lose your Lucio, you lose a lot of your ability to peel off those threats. And yeah, good stall out here from Pineapple as we get to what is essentially one fight territory now.
Yeah, 70% already. I mean, realistically, Oxford only won one team fight, but Flashpoint being what it is, they're basically in one fight territory already. See Andreas poking here, trying to get something done onto Renee on that Cassidy, getting chased down a little bit.
Oh, not just chased down, but absolutely brutalized there. Even trying for a stick right now. Incredibly cheeky play, but yeah, Warwick absolutely bullying Andreas all the way back to the point right now. And this is where Oxford want to be playing. Kitsune Rush is here from Finn. Again, give yourself some more pressure. Allow yourself to go forward even more. Win out the frontline war. Again, you can sit here. You can afford to do that. The enemy team doesn't have that same luxury, but you also don't have the luxury of losing your Cassidy in the fight right now. And the stick is beautiful as well. Taranti walking into the Orisa there. Heat-seeking missile, but in reverse as J9 manages to get the clean up. Says not the big three, it's just the big me right now.
You can see the difference there immediately in how these teams want to play these points. Oxford Omnic's just walking forward as one, trying to just force Warwick away from the point, whereas Andreas leading the charge for Warwick. A little bit of in, a little bit of out. Swift as a coursing river, whatever the lyric from Mulan goes.
Oh,
Renee, that's not when you push Q, my guy.
Yeah, pressing Q there was an interesting decision, and that's Warwick with the... Well, that's the coaching mind. That's the intelligence coming through. Not taking your fight straight to the point, because that's where Oxford are their strongest, but instead catch them with their pants down a little bit on the angle when they're running it all the way through. And Oxford clearly weren't expecting it. They panic. They press their Qs when they really shouldn't have. Did cost both support ults from Warwick, though, which is potentially maybe your line back into this. And Oxford, they can actually get back to possibly retouch this.
Yeah, I mean, you do want to get that first fight out there immediately, rather than fighting on the objective. Andreas, question mark, getting punted down, laser beam almost, as Matt Murray pops his overclock, answered by Taranti's beat J9's dead.
Yeah, the timing was a little off there for Warwick. Andreas comes out as Matt Murray peaks with the overclock, and then the pressure from J9 gets shut out by Renee, so... Uncharacteristic mistake coming out there from Warwick, but you got to also give credit to Oxford there. Warwick don't make mistakes like this often. The ability to actually take advantage of them is the hallmark of a team that can actually go the distance.
Renee really is the star of the show, I think, at the moment for Oxford. Just pulling some fantastic kills out when you wouldn't think he has any right to, honestly. That kill onto J9 there absolutely turned the fight instantly. We have Finn now with the Kitsune Rush, and obviously a Pineapple with this Pulse Bomb. Who's he going to be aiming for? Looks like he's shooting for J9.
That'd be a hell of a stick. Hell of a stick onto the enemy Tracer there, as it is going to be J9 forced out here. Oxford still holding nice and strong on this point. Warwick can take the angles. Tracer's going to be traded out the exact same time. A little bit of a symmetry right now. And that's a very, very bold use of that Cassidy ultimate, but it seems to work out. Thrall caught in no man's land, and Renee cleans that one all the way up. 9% on this point. Warwick don't even look like they really want to retouch this. It'll be desperation here from Andreas, but Light Void, that is... I do believe that his impact on the game is not exactly light right now.
No, and the skill gap does not appear to be a void either. Fantastic. I mean,
Wait a minute. Wait a minute, no. Warwick. This wasn't in the script. You weren't supposed to do this right now. It's desperation coming out. That's the ultimate. Thrall caught up, but the stick was just overwhelming. The damage was too much. Warwick, how much are you paying them? What's happening?
Goodness, I started hearing the Ultra Instinct theme kick in a little bit then. That was absolutely ridiculous. How do you clutch that? We had all but given it over to Oxford. That's absolutely inexplicable, to use the only word that's even anywhere near accurate. I was about to sing the praises of Renee, basically using a laser gun rather than a revolver, but clearly not quite enough in that last fight.
Absolute insanity. Warwick is still able to hold on to this. As we do get 99% on the point, the ult bank does look kind of even right now. Pineapple can really make some magic happen with this Pulse Bomb if necessary on the side right now. And the aggression is really good. And again, it's Renee that gets caught out there. It's very feast or famine right now for this Cassidy pick. And can't really seem to decide which one it's going to be at all times. Oxford have to back up here because they know they need to retouch this, and any late staggers they can't really afford.
Yeah, absolutely tragic. With how fast the percentage ticks up on Flashpoint, as soon as Renee goes down, you need to back up. You can't afford to have anyone else die. Another question is, who's going to touch? It's going to Light Void getting there first by the looks of it. Pineapple is lurking somewhere in that back line with the Pulse Bomb. He's going for it. Yeah,
beat used aggressively there, but Taranti can bounce back with one of their own. The stick, the moves there. Matt Murray Neo ducking underneath of that and has this overclock on this angle right now. Can let it loose at any time. The shutdown, the spear, not quite there when you need it, but that is Andreas that's going to be falling. Went right into Kitsune Rush, got bursted down with damage. What would you expect as J9 has a little bit of a J9 moment there on the side there, falling off the map. A little bit goofy there, but you know what? It happens. Happens to the best of us, even the best players.
It does happen to the best of us. Obviously, not on camera at the moment, but I recoiled in horror upon seeing J9.
I can
doing
confirm, I was also recoiling in horror.
I made my guy jump. I leapt back in this chair. I assumed it was the pulse bomb, but he still got it, so God only knows how that happened. We'll have to get a replay if that's at all possible. And now we've evened up on Surabasa. Renee.
Oh, Pineapple trying to actually not having their own J9 moment there. As J9's pulse is counteracted by Light Void's spear spin right there. So they stick the tank strategy. It's not totally infallible. And again, it's just about playing this point, which Oxford can do with abandon right now, spearing Andreas away, and that's a whole lot of damage. Forces the Meteor Strike nice and early, but Andreas can go right back in here. Light Void's going so aggro right now. Where's the team? Where's the healing? It's not there. Light Void disconnected with the rest of the team, but Renee certainly, sure as hell, not disconnecting with any of these shots right now. J9's still going to be found, and Pineapple's Pulse Bomb going the way of the Dodo on the side there. As it is eventually just Warwick cleaning this one all the way up. 36, 37, maybe even 40% if you're a little cheeky on the point for Oxford right there. Looks like a lot. Not really. This is Flashpoint.
Yeah, we can do some cheeky rounding. This is Flashpoint. We can call that 40%. What's a few percent between friends? Very, very interesting turn of the fight there. Light Void obviously eating J9's Pulse Bomb at the beginning of it. Not something we tend to see too much.
Not with a spear spin, no. It's not really the primary use for that cooldown. As Thrall is actually just on this side here with this beat. Maybe was trying to clear an angle there or do some kind of flexing over on the side. It is going to be the Kitsune Rush, and that's the beat to respond to it. Renee's head taken clean off. Matt Murray, a Sojourn aficionado, so to speak. Not sure if we're seeing any controller gaming in this lobby, but if it is, it sure as hell coming out of this man. Has another one locked and loaded, ready to go. Not able to get that. Oxford need the wherewithal to back out into this because they know that they need to refight this, and they don't have the luxury for anyone to fall.
They're going to have to re-engage quick, and they're going to have to re-engage very, very decisively here. Don't really have anything. Well, they have the beat, I suppose. They can beat aggressively and get in there. But other than that, Renee may build a high noon up, but that's not particularly impactful of an ultimate. He's had some tasty, tasty kill feed moments with it, but not what you usually expect. Although, Warwick.
Yeah, Matt Murray kind of playing off in no man's land there, eventually rejoining this fight as it's utter chaos on the point. But the Kitsune Rush and the damage onto Light Void is absolutely overwhelming right now. Point flip did go their way, but Thrall sure as hell doesn't care. Probably my favorite Catboy in University Esports right now. Thrall, clean it up on the point.
Again with the Catboys. My guy's got serious opinions on Catboys. I don't say I blame them, to be honest. But
no comment.
No comment. I like it. Very political of you. If we look at that, though, what I think we saw was that Oxford sort of gave in to Warwick Angel's plan there of go silly, go stupid. And there was just too much chaos. You saw Light Void sort of running around the point, not really have any idea where on earth he was supposed to be standing, who he was supposed to be shooting, what his cooldowns were meant to be doing in that moment. Beautiful, beautiful tree there.
Yeah, Oxford do have a say in this next fight. They are coming up on 4 of their ultimates right now. And Andreas just falling there. They didn't even have to use an ultimate. And that's really bad for the ult economy of Warwick right now. Oxford able to take this point nice and simple. I say that unless Matt Murray is able to click on your head. Even with all the HP changes, the one-shot headshot interaction with the Sojourn is still there. Initial point flip does go the way of Oxford, however, and Pineapple can get back pretty damn quickly, so you're not exactly too worried here. J9 does apply a little bit of pressure right now, does force the rest of Oxford to kind of move back out of it, but now is how they use their ultimates. It's going to be everything and the kitchen sink thrown out. Light Void trying to stay tanky on the point and is enabled with that Kitsune Rush, and that's going to be stabbing the ground and stabbing through the hearts of any Warwick fans in the chat right now.
That was very well done indeed. Masterful management of that Doomfist there, keeping him where they wanted him. Using that Terror Surge.
You don't even need to play Malga to have someone where you want him. It's wonderful.
Absolutely beautiful gameplay. They knew exactly how they wanted to manage that Doomfist. They did a fantastic job of pulling it out. And now Pineapple's still got that Pulse Bomb, which could potentially, if it connects, be an instant fight win. Let's hope.
It's what you want to be seeing right now, because if not, then Warwick are going to be coming up on some key ultimates of their own and can just bounce back right into this, and that's really, really dangerous when you let Warwick do what they want. Stick onto Andreas, and that's absolutely perfection! And, wait, guys, the point. Warwick I'm going to say this once more, and I don't want to say it for the rest of the series. It's an objective-based game. Play the objective!
They got a little bit lost in the sauce there. They were just enjoying the team deathmatch. It happens to the best of us.
My God.
But there we go, we're gone. This is the final point now here on Survasa. So we're even on maps, we're even on points on this third map. It's shaping up to be tasty. Warwick Angels, I think, do have a slight ultimate advantage, but it's not too meaningful. It could go either way.
Yeah, not entirely insurmountable for Oxford. They're coming up on some key piece of their own. Most importantly, this beat from Taranti, whether you use it aggressively in response to Kitsune, to stick on the point more, it's so flexible how it can be used. Andreas gets a little cheeky there. Pulse Bomb is out from J9, but goes wide, unfortunately. Whole lot of damage onto the Oxford backline. Still able to live for the time being, but weak in this fight means that they can't really stick it as much as they want. But Oxford do manage to take first cap on this point. That's the hinder coming out! That denied the punch, that denied the damage onto Renee, and that split-second reaction is exactly what you need, as the supports are still so low, but the peel is good from Taranti. Has gone pretty under the radar for quite a lot of this tournament, but the backline of Oxford has been nothing but sublime thus far, as J9 is caught out here, and the point pressure, again, good for Oxford. The first fight is going the way here. Backline all locked up, not quite dying there, but running all the way back, and we get 50% on the point with what was essentially for free from Oxford.
Very sloppy team play, dare I say it. There was a masterful read there from Renee, though, onto Andreas Doomfist, sort of teasing out that meteor start, rolling to avoid the damage and instantly hindering him, so he didn't really have any way of getting out.
Yeah, and Taranti wants to end this right now. Goes aggressive with the beat, but that's why you track these ultimates, because Thrall just ends up using their own to counteract it out right now, as Renee still hitting these shots. Absolute lunacy, but that's the cancel there. Pineapple actually going to be falling to their own pulse bomb. Thrall is felled in the meanwhile, but you got to think which pick is better. It's going to have yet to be seen right now, as Oxford managed to work this one all the way through. J9 is felled, but Taranti down 2 right now, and Andreas not quite able to live. It's Key Dog with desperation time. It's do or die right now, as Matt Murray can try and charge his overclock, but Finn catching 2. Supportal combat at the end of the day right now, and this overclock is going to be all for naught. Oxford want the crown, they want the series, they want the win.
Oh my goodness, they take the lead for the second time now. They officially have Warwick on the back foot, and that last point was pretty blooming decisive there. It was a complete lockout, it was 100% to 0. And yes, okay, once again for the third time in a row, player of the match, or player of the game rather, goes over to a Warwick player, but doesn't make any difference. They didn't win it. They got zoned out of the objective. They just lost in the macro.
And I think, to put it bluntly, because there's no better way to dress it up, Warwick got sloppy. Warwick got extremely sloppy, and that's something that is so unexpected for this team. I do believe that in that first point, on that final sub point that we went to, they used 4 ultimates. Guess how many members of Oxford died in that exchange?
Do tell.
0.
Goose egg.
And in that time, Oxford managed to take the point as well. So it kind of just worked out for them.
Yeah, I think what we were talking about with Oxford's just control of the objective, their ability to manage Andreas' aggression, as we go to a replay very quickly, really did come to the fore here. What you did see was that they managed to get that first cap. They just held on to it for everything they could possibly get. They were just desperate to hold on to it, and over time those little bits of percentage points, they just add up, and they do end up being a pretty significant advantage overall. So just masterful overall gameplay from Oxford there.
Yeah, we're going to be going over to see a couple of the replays that we can, because that was a hell of a series. It went down, not hell of a series, hell of a map. Really went down to the wire right now. A little bit of a differential from Pineapple certainly helps. Some masterful play coming out from both these sides, but Oxford's macro was just better. Warwick tossing so many ults into the fight, not winning, giving the point over, and then it felt like they got a little lazy with how they used them. They were just kind of chucking pulse bombs, not really with much efficiency, just trying to see, well, maybe I'll hit something with this. You know, pop in support ults when, you know, popping their support ults just kind of at start fight, not exactly tracking that the enemy has the same ults as you, and now they can go second with them. It was really strange and really unexpected. However, it's as we've said, Oxford, some of the individual play was phenomenal. Renee not dying to Andreas there. I literally tell you, a millisecond made the difference between Renee getting punched up against that wall and likely killed by the rest of the team, and then Warwick snowballing taking that map, or instead hindering it successfully and staying alive. As we do get to have a look at our next map quickly. Warwick, once again, going to be picking this one. See if it can go in their favor. Esperanza. And yeah, of all of the 3 push maps, we don't see New Queen Street. Unless you're, you know, the University of Nottingham, which means you're awesome. Hella cool. Colosseo lends itself very much to a brawly style, which doesn't fare well if you're a Doomfist playing into an Orisa-based matchup. So Esperanza, you can play high ground, you can play flank angles with your Tracer. It's just really a phenomenal point for Warwick.
Yeah, there's no surprises here that with their favouring the Doomfist that they go over to Esperanza. No surprises at all. This is the map. This is the push map that they were always going to go to. I think if the shoe was on the other foot, we would definitely be seeing Colosseo. But here we are, heading into Esperanza. And as much as it's a good map for Doomfist, I'm sort of imagining a world in which Oxford managed to pull something out of a hat with the Orisa as well. I think if they take the fights at the right point, if they keep an eye on where those fights are happening, and don't let Warwick just stand on the high ground and harass them, I can see this working out for them. It's going to be an uphill battle no matter what, but you never know. I've got faith now. The fire of hope has been kindled.
Yeah, but contesting the high ground isn't exactly something that an Orisa comp does, like, easily. It takes them a hot minute. It takes them a while. You have to walk all the way around just to even get on that high ground. And if you're Warwick, you just, you know, press shift. And now you're on the high ground. It's simple as that. And for a map which is so dominated around that kind of high ground bridge, so to speak, it's really interesting. You will see teams intentionally give up the bot at certain points just so that they can take a fight starting on that high ground, because it is so strong. It is so oppressive. It's up there with, you know, maybe Dorado second or Nambani first, one of the most oppressive high grounds in the game.
Yeah, high ground is always a tough nut to crack, this map in particular, but like I say...
Shooting down easy, shooting up hard.
Yes, you've got that inherent cover. Naturally, if you studied your trigonometry at school, which I hope you all did, kids, then you'll know that the floor is going to get in the way. You can't shoot through the floor, at least not in Overwatch. There are some games where you can. Like I say, I feel like Oxford, they've shown flashes of brilliance here. They have shown that they do know how to shut down this Doomfist. And let's be real, with the caliber of coaching that they've got, there's no way they aren't prepping to go to Esperanza. They knew that if they came to a push map, they were going to be coming to this one. So hopefully we see some pocket picks coming out, some nice, tasty strategies. They will have prepared. Let's hope they've prepared enough as we roll out. No surprises here once again. J9 on the Tracer, plays the Sojourn and the Doomfist and so on and so forth. Into the Cassidy and the Orisa. Andreas just pokes a little bit, gets that empowered punch.
Yeah, the Bully Andreas challenge seems to be going swimmingly right now for Oxford, but remember that if Andreas lives through the barrage of cooldowns being thrown at him, that is such a boon for the rest of Warwick. It means that those are cooldowns that they themselves don't have to be dealing with. When you have... It's not like Andreas is the only factor on Warwick that you need to shut down. There are so many moving parts to this team which make him so deadly, such as Matt Murray's, you know, just ability. I don't know, Matt Murray's left index finger or right index finger. I don't know, man. One of them at least, because it's just landing on the head of Pineapple right there, working this one all the way through as Renee sits in this cover, so to speak. I'm convinced that cover is just a trap, but that's a thought for another day.
Yeah, I mean, technically I suppose you are covered, but you do tend to be covered with enemy fire as soon as you set foot in there. There's only one way in and there's only one way out, and it tends to get covered pretty effectively. So no great surprises, obviously. We were talking about the map geometry here, talking about the fact that this is a Doom-favoured map, or at least a dive-favoured map. You know, traditionally we've seen a lot of Monkey here as well. So it's not a great surprise that Warwick have taken the lead here to start off with, as it looks like they might want to rotate. Ooh, very well timed Suzu there. As Oxford wants to sort of rotate onto this high ground and try and knock Warwick off.
Yeah, but that's an absolutely brutal endeavor. It seems to be working anyway. Matt Murray gonna be getting found out there by the Revolver, the Peacekeeper over Rene. Keydog still thinks they're in this fight right now. Is gonna pop that Kitsune rush. Not sure if Oxford want to kind of close this one out by committing their own, or else it's just going to be Light Void instead. Trying to lock them all up for the moment. Not exactly all that effective. Andreas just punches out of that. Thrall was caught there. Again, Rene's Revolver simply far too much to deal with right now. Warwick still committing ults to this. They still think they can win this. And yeah, they managed to catch Pineapple out there as Andreas does a little bit of a, vanishing act. Eventually hounded down. But it works regardless. And you question maybe why Warwick invested the ultimates that they did into that.
Yeah, I mean, like you were describing it earlier as the bully Andreas strat, and that does seem to be, as much as Rene is the player to take out on the Oxford side, Andreas is the player to manage a lot of the time. On the Warwick side, this is the definition of a zoning ult. This is what we like to see there. Does manage to get a few extra meters of progress on for Oxford and slow down the onslaught, which we're about to see coming out from Warwick here. Kitsune rush for Finn as well. I'm sure we're going to see this in a moment come through. See, just playing around this high ground, poking a little bit. And there goes J9.
Oh, and that's the duel actually won out there. We were talking about how good J9 is, but it seems like Pineapple also has been getting the number of him in these duels a whole lot of the time. Andreas still catching on to 2, and Matt Murray, though, you cannot forget the clutch factor of Warwick in this situation. Finn tries to pop that Kitsune rush, but you can just left click after left click after left click onto Light Void. There's a whole lot of damage that comes through, and eventually the war of attrition is won out there by Warwick. The ability of Warwick to drag these fights kicking and screaming to a victory, even when they really don't want to, is kind of phenomenal.
Yeah, there's just an X factor there. They are just able to clutch fights that you just don't expect. It matters not how many people are down. If there's one player left alive on Warwick, the fight is still winnable. And that's a terrifying prospect if you're Oxford to go up against, when you know that you do need to hear that team kill bong in order to breathe safe for just a few moments.
Yeah, Keydog does pop the Kitsune rush on the high ground there, so you can't exactly get that. You can't exactly win that one out, as Thrall, it does end up getting the beat, and it is good. It gives J9 the HP advantage in the duel. Winning that one out, simple as apple pie right there. Andreas still on this low ground, trying to get some damage in, and yeah, that's going to be Taranti. Push up against the wall, actually still going to be catching onto that Tracer, and unexpectedly absurd amount of damage there. Again, has the Empower Punch, opts to not use it right now. Light Void's still falling a little low. It's still really anyone's fight, but it has moved away from the high ground as Matt Murray wants to move back up here. Both teams realize this is uncharted territory. They both want to claim it, and Rene does end up being felled. That is the key pick for Oxford, the one who has been the thorn in the side of the Angels thus far. But Oxford are still holding this high ground pretty strong. Is the point? It's a dance right now. It's the high ground, or it's the point, or it's something else. This is the issue with playing against Warwick. There's just too many damn things to look at.
Absolutely, and they are just standing on this high ground. This is sort of what we predicted. It's so difficult for Oxford to get any meaningful progress because they're just getting descended upon from every angle. It seems like they keep having to make the same rotation up this same set of stairs and just getting pressured out. As we have another zoning ult here from Rene. I'm not sure we're going to see any kills off this one. I'd be shocked.
Ooh.
Does get Andreas to half, but
yeah, and force out J9 actually landing the Magnate as well, but the damage not quite there. Really close there was Rene into just basically, again, single-handedly blowing this fight wide open. Wants to keep J9 honest on the angle right now, and this is the issue with Esperanto. It's not one-dimensional in the slightest. So much to look at. Matt Murray is behind you. There's a man in your backline with an overclock. That is a terrifying prospect, and it's terrifying for Pineapple too, as Andreas manages to just put this one to bed right now. Oxford getting utterly just destroyed. They cannot deal with the angles when they are forced to, and Warwick are so good at taking them.
Yeah, you can see Oxford are here being forced to use ultimates so that they don't really want to, for not very much results. They're just using it to try and get ahead in a given fight, and it's not working out. You can see that Warwick aren't even particularly bothered about moving the bot, really. They want to keep this, they want to maintain their lead, they want to hold on to that, and honestly just keep the fight in that centre point where they can dictate the fight from the high ground. They are moving the bot, of course, but they don't seem that worried.
Yeah, J9 does have a pulse bomb locked and loaded, ready to go. Whether this is going to be a standard Orisa stick affair, is going to have to be seen. But yeah, Warwick literally don't care, as you rightly pointed out. This high ground is the key, and Oxford's composition is really going to struggle to get there. Want to see if maybe they can force point a little bit, as the damage onto Light Void is absolutely overwhelming, forcing everything in the kitchen sink right now. As Warwick push this one all the way through, all of Oxford are falling low. The sustain there is decent. Taranti decides it's go time with the beat. Get it all up right now as Light Void pops the Terror Surge, but again, Thrall matching that out. Both of these Lucios so disciplined with the use of their beats right now, but J9 again honestly seems to have been being caught out an uncharacteristic amount of times here, as Renee does get healed up, and yeah, that's the Hinder trying to come through. Andreas gets away anyway, simply too damn stubborn to get hit with a magnetic grenade, as Pineapple is caught on the angle again, but Taranti with a bit of a differential has been showing up in a big way on the Lucio for Oxford thus far, but the forward spawns were captured for Warwick, and they're able to get a nice hold on this high ground as well.
Yeah, not quite sure how Andreas managed to get away from that Hinder nade there. Mechanics being mechanics, it's not the most consistent, it feels like a lot of the time. But he does get away, and you can see that, once again, they're not too worried about the fact that their forward spawns have been deactivated, or the fact that, in name at least, Oxford is in control of the bot, because they know that there's not really a snowball's chance in hell that Oxford are going to get that bot past this bridge. As you can see, Tarante's down. Andreas goes down as well, but I feel like the damage has maybe been done.
Yeah, losing your tank is going to be infinitely more valuable than using your Lucio here, because you still have Finn. You can still get that healing online. Matt Murray actually wants to try and clutch this one out. It's going to be a patented clutch for Warwick, but Matt Murray does kind of dash in there, and it is just a collapse of the rest of Oxford on him. Seems like a damn boat race right now, the way that Oxford are dominating this one, as Light Void wants to clean this one up as well. 1.5 minutes left on the point. Only now Oxford have a chance back in this, but honestly, they only really need to win about a single clean fight and then maybe a retouch in order to take this lead.
Yeah, this is the problem with Warwick's strategy of just win the fights to get a lead and then hold on to that fight desperately in the middle ground. Well, Oxford only really need to win 1 or 2 team fights in order to strip that lead away from them, but there's a reason that Warwick are banking on them not winning these team fights. It's been so difficult. Light Void just cannot decide where he wants to stand. Does he want to be on this high ground? Does he want to go back down? Renee's
no!
Dead.
That's the key pick. Absolute perfection there from J9, landing that picture perfect. Getting Renee out here, and Finn falling so low. Oxford know they have to back out of this, but it's so uncomfortable. They sure as hell do not want to do that. Warwick out for blood, trying to maybe chase this down a little bit, as Oxford have retreated back to the ever-present high ground, but it is J9 who just wants to keep it contested, keep this bot pushed through anyway, and yeah, Warwick knows that they don't have to necessarily win these out. They just need to hold on to their lead. And Keydog popping that Kitsune Rush. Pineapple not getting as much luck with the stick as well. And Taranti is felled in the meanwhile. Warwick still looking pretty good on this point. Keydog is low though, and that's a whole chunk of healing now gone. But Thrall comes in like a damn wrecking ball, getting protection for the support that was felled right now. And it feels like this was a very static game of push from what we've seen, but that sure as hell favored Warwick right now. Beat from Taranti, all but cosmetic here. 2-2 in the series. My God, Nagley, we got a bit of a match on our hands, huh?
Oh my goodness, we definitely do. I can't even pronounce words. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, not any great surprises there in Warwick's ability to dictate that. As we were saying, obviously, this is a fight. This is a map which favours the Doomfist very, very heavily indeed, and obviously a Doomfist of the calibre of Andreas is always going to be dictating the fights no matter what happens. So, as Andreas himself there getting player of the game, I keep wanting to call it player of the match. If only. He may well get that
We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Because there are still 3 maps to be played of this series. We've gone 4, we've gone a hell of a lot of distance, and it is still so even between these teams. If you want to be technical about it, the maps that Oxford have been winning have been pretty close.
Yeah.
And the maps that Warwick have been winning have been, in the case of Kings, one-sided. And in the case of the map we just saw, Esperanza, which we are going to see a couple of replays for, was, I wouldn't say one-sided, but it was comfortable. You never felt like Warwick was sweating too much. They always they were in the driver's seat. Things got a little scary around maybe the 2-minute mark when Oxford kind of win a bit of an unexpected fight here, but Warwick didn't seem to care in that regard.
Yeah, Warwick firmly in control all the way through there on Esperanza, as you'd expect from their map pick. So, I mean, look at these replays, you can see everything's beautiful there on the side of Warwick. Oxford sort of getting schooled, I think, a little bit. There is a re-establishment of dominance there, but it's going to be Oxford's map pick, eventually, as they've got to go into the dugouts and see where they want to go for our next
The proverbial dugouts, because they are sat at home on their computers. Yes. We're going to give them time in dugouts, because we're going to be throwing it over to a very quick break. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a series. We'll be back right after this, and I suggest that you do not go anywhere.
Get some snacks.
You must think that I'm a restless case because I ran away, If you listen to the words I say, you know that I'm okay, you know it's just a phase. Don't think I'm leaving 'cause I'm not at all, and if you get hurt it's unintentional. I just wanted you to realize that I'm the one you like, that I'm the one you like. So where do we go from here? Where do we go, where do we go? I don't know. Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Baby, I've been busy missing you. Say, have you missed me too? Say, have you missed me too? Was this intermission good for you? Yeah, was it good for you? Or are you just confused? Don't think I'm leaving 'cause I'm not at all.
No, they're not. Super with the threat that only moving off this round over. Everyone, if you hate snakes, then this snake will end it here for you. Double kill with the Kyrie on the back of this fight. Cancel fast forward.
Look, good things come to those who wait, right? You wait 3 minutes, and we get back into a banger of a series. Oxford and Warwick. So evenly matched. 2-2 right now. Honestly, it is the flip of a coin to see who wins this one. Yeah. It is a flip of a coin to see how any map will turn out, any fight will turn out, if you're Warwick, who keep playing with my dreams and winning every single fight that they have no right to be winning, and then Oxford, who are just doing magic, apparently. Sometimes it's Light Void, sometimes Pineapple, sometimes it's Renee. They will, in fact, just pull a damn rabbit out of their hat, and that rabbit is a nuclear bomb which somehow kills all of the Warwick roster. It is absolute insanity, the Overwatch that we are seeing today. how about we just talk about the maps? It might calm us down a little.
Yeah, let's take a moment. Let's take a deep breath. Let's think about where we might be going next. The next game mode rather, is going to be Escort.
Yeah.
And we were looking at the options for that. They were, if I remember correctly, we had Shambali Monastery, which is...
Shambali Monastery, yes. Correct, we did have Shambali Monastery.
What a surprise.
You deserve a medal, a gold
should.
star, a pat on the back, maybe even a hug if you're lucky. Shambali, of all the maps that Oxford were going to pick, it's the one that makes by far the most sense. They want to play the frontline style. Angles are bad. There's a lot of nuances between both these compositions about how you execute them. The very simple one is this. If there are angles and there are high grounds, Warwick are happy. They're doing well. If there is not angles and there is not high grounds, Oxford are happy. Right?
Yep.
It works.
Pretty much. That's a pretty nice, simplistic explanation of what we're seeing here. And when you look at the alternatives, the maps that Oxford could have chosen, places like Rialto or Dorado, I think after the absolute trouncing that they received at the hands of Andreas Doomfist on that previous map, Esperanza, there was not a snowball's chance in hell that they were going to pick to go on to Dorado. That would just be masochistic, frankly.
Yeah.
So no great surprises that they're coming up to Shambali Monastery. Also a very high ground dominated map, maybe the best of a bad bunch, but it is the best of a bad bunch. It is their best bet, and we're going to have to see if they're able to pull it out the bag, if they're able to pull that tactical nuke out of the hat, or whatever the analogy was that we came up with earlier.
Sometimes my mind is just far too great for anyone to comprehend. Simple as that. What can I say?
I
but
relate.
yeah, Shambali, it is, as you neatly put, it's kind of the best of a bad bunch. Escort is by far and away a really strong mode for Warwick's comp. Again, Escort generally has a lot of high grounds, has a lot of angles, it plays slower so you can take those angles, and the onus of just stand on the point is significantly less reduced, and we've gone into it before, but Oxford's composition is really good at standing on the point and moving things in one direction. So it helps when they're able to pick a map which circumvents that a little bit. The only other realistic option for them would have been Circuit Royale, and that would have involved having to fight J9 on Widow.
Yeah, I think so.
And J9's Widow is kind of spooky, so I wouldn't.
Check him PC, this not normally.
Yeah, I mean, it would also be Andreas Sigma, which is cursed, I think. But we have seen Andreas Ramatra this series.
So, why not?
That was the teleport strat, which was instantly broken.
They gave it a go. Yeah.
They've given it a go all the time. I have not seen it work once. Once, Nagley!
Oh dear.
Just a single time, please!
I was going to say we need to be generous, but this is Warwick we're talking about. The Warwick Angels, they're going absolute beast mode. We don't need to be particularly kind to them. They are the defending champions, and they're doing a fantastic job. So I think, frankly, if we want to have a little bit of go at Andreas' ability to play Sigma, for example, or Ramatra, then I'm pretty sure he can take it. His ego will be intact.
We haven't seen it. I have actually met Andreas in real life. I haven't met Andreas in real life. He is Doomfist.
Is he?
Yeah, like in real life.
Like all the way, like Gauntlet and everything?
Yeah, Gauntlet was out the whole time.
What a unit.
I know, like 7 foot tall or so, like super muscular. It's kind of wild, you know. It's absolutely unbelievable that there is a specimen like that who is playing for the side of Warwick, as we do flip sides over here a little bit, just on the visual display at the very least, but in terms of the mental display, still incredibly even between both of these teams. It's just a matter of wait, see what happens, see what they play. Is it going to be Orisa and Cassidy and Tracer from Oxford? And is it going to be Doom, Tracer and Sojourn from Warwick? The answer is yes.
I suspect so. And just a quick reminder, of course, do not be deceived. We are looking at a 2-all scoreline, but that does not mean that this is your final tiebreaker map. We are going all the way to 7 maps, I reckon, by the looks of this. This is the first to 4, so we've got a minimum of this map and then 1 following after that. Hopefully, we do see a 7th map. I'm desperately hoping for that, because this is shaped up to be a fantastic game so far. And the thing about good games is you don't want them to end. You want them to go the distance as we roll out. And no great surprises from the Oxford side as far as their team composition is concerned. J9 is going to come out initially on that Widowmaker, try for a cheeky headshot. Stranger things have happened. Let's see if anyone peeks that angle and immediately regrets it.
I'll correct you. Stranger Things hasn't happened. Cowboy Bebop has happened. That's the collab. Not Stranger Things. That's coming later.
Yeah, give that a few seasons. As we roll out, J9, yep, not finding anything, not finding any joy on that Widowmaker and swapping back onto the Tracer as we get things underway. As I say, no great surprise. It's the Cassidy and the Risa plays the Sojourn and the Doomfist. Everything else more or less equivalent. It's Matt Murray poking, just trying to build up that railgun.
Yeah, trying to get the damage in where you can. It seems to work. So big rotation is coming through here from Oxford. They want to eventually touch on this point. It's what they want to do, but it's always a balancing act because the moment that you fall back to the point to start moving, you're giving better positioning away right now. And Light Void on this low ground, again, it's just about Light Void always has to be on top of the engage, always has to be on top of the Doomfist, on top of the divers, everything like that. And oh my god, Renee is alive through all of that. It's clear where the priorities of Oxford lie, and it seemed to work out there. As they do manage to get onto Thrall. Pineapple is felled, but just the way that the positions are right now, given how Warwick want to push this one through, and just the ability that Oxford can play so defensive, that pick's going to be pretty rough.
It is. It's so difficult for a defensive-focused team like Oxford to actually manage to maintain this positional advantage. You do have to stop the cart. You have to get on there, and you have to have someone on there. And that means you're going to have to sacrifice your terrain advantage, your positional advantage, and it means that you might be vulnerable to, for example, Matt Murray poking around the side. Doesn't matter, though. Pineapple takes out Andreas, and that is the retreat sounded. Blow those trumpets.
Ooh. Get
Get Warwick out of there. On the back foot now. Warwick maybe stabilising a little bit here. A lovely little beachhead established. Good Suzu there. Making him immaterial as the Javelin comes through. Lots of ults on the board now as well. Oxford coming up to all 5.
Yeah, both teams coming up to all 5s right now. A little slower on the draw here for Warwick. Oxford could technically go first if they really wanted to, but again, the onus isn't on them to be aggressive with the way they're playing. The onus is on Warwick to make something happen. And they certainly can. They have the resources to do it, but again, Oxford can actually just go second here as both of those Lucios are going to be felled. Still even, 4v4 in the fight right now. Stick on to Light Void. The damage is simply too overwhelming right now. Remember when we said that it was on Warwick to make something happen? They did that and then some. Taranti simply not able to charge the beat in time, was felled far too early. And yeah, that's about the worst case scenario you can really have if you're Oxford. You need that beat to keep in this fight.
Yeah, Oxford not really use it. I mean, they did use more than half of their ultimates, of course, and there goes the 4th.
Oh, Light Void
Bit
ultimate.
of a stall there. Okay, I mean, managed to get out the beat. That is actually
okay, never mind. Yeah,
Good
they got back.
recontest.
Yeah, they got back. They're able to actually redo this one. Oxford did get there, and now it's Matt Murray on the side. Has the overclock. Taranti is down, and that's the Lucio that's being felled. It did work there for Warwick, but at the end of it, it was a little bit of brute force. Again, not quite the charm, not quite the elegance that we expect. Just kind of having to brute force this one with their Q presses, and Oxford eventually getting a couple of key resources out of them at the end.
So what we see there is one quite long team fight. A team fight in 2 chapters, dare I say, over the course of which all 10 ultimates got used. And it was a phenomenal stall there as well. Warwick have only just managed to get that first checkpoint, and they're under 3 minutes, so that's a reasonable amount burnt off that time bank. And honestly, this spot here with the caves, this is the sort of place where Oxford do want to take this fight. Not so many cheeky angles for Warwick to take, not so much free space for the Doomfist to try and dictate these fights.
Yeah, that is going to be Key Dog, however, using the Kitsune Rush to aggress there, and that does buy them some space through to this corner. Oxford cannot afford to let Warwick get past this corner, because then suddenly they can take all the angles that they want to. It's going to be zoning out. Good damage is there onto Key Dog. Pineapple unfortunately going wide, but Key Dog not actually escaping there. Not entirely sure if that was a misuse of the Swift Step, or maybe a little bit of a bug, or maybe just some Oxford shenanigans. Maybe they just paid off one of the players there. However, Key Dog was in the wrong place at the wrong time and got punished for it.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic just management. This is what it always comes down to, is Oxford being able to keep their head in the face of the unrelenting storm that is Warwick. Warwick come in and they want to cause chaos, and the only thing you can do in that chaos is don't panic, keep calm and carry on.
Ooh.
Absolutely nail the Suzu timing there to negate the pulse bomb. Beautiful.
Yeah, Thrall is down, and if we have a brief look at the top, oh, careful there, Oxford. We're not If we are not having a C9 in this series, I refuse to let it happen. If it happens, I will quite literally kick all of the cameras that are in front of me and then maybe punch Nagley in the face.
Weirdly, I think I'd rather you punch me than tip over these very expensive looking cameras.
Probably.
My face is not very, very expensive at all, as we see Oxford managing this fantastically. It's only a minute to go now for Warwick's attack. This isn't really how we expected Shambali to go. Although now, Oxford, they are taking these fights where they want to, in the cave. And J9 is over on that Genji once again. We've not seen this since that first map on Lijiang.
Honestly, I think J9 just needs to focus on building a Blade right now. And it's certainly possible right now, but if Oxford can maybe win a clean fight with their huge ultimate, Light Void falls! No! That is disastrous for Oxford. The timing there was not at all what you want, and it's just going to be a scramble for Oxford to try and retouch back onto this one. Light Void still has the ultimate, doesn't want to be using it. It's Taranti trying to stall things out with the beat. You need your Orisa back. You need him back yesterday right now, but Matt Murray has the presence of mind with this overclock. Renee has failed, not able to use that so effectively. Finn, however, wants to turn this one back, but Warwick have an answer for everything. Matt Murray has an answer for Pineapple. It's a clean rail shot to the head right now. Light Void has this ult, but going to be sticking onto it. And you are so close to greatness, Oxford. You are so close.
So close. With only about 2.5 seconds left on the time bank, they do manage, Warwick, to push that cart into second, and now they've only got about 1:20. Third point on Shambali is always pretty difficult to take, but I feel like if you can manage to pull that attack out of second, then nothing's out of order. Especially when you consider J9 does have this Dragon Blade. Here we go, using it on the Orisa. Interesting. Not ideal, but okay.
Yeah, that was the response there, and it is just kind of a trade out there. Andreas can go very aggressive with the meteor strike. You can see how much space has been bought for Warwick to continue pushing this one all the way through on this front line right now, but Thrall went way too close to the sun. His wings sure as hell fell off. Thrall just out there. Andreas does commit the meteor strike. Going to be seeing whether it wants to be used aggressively, but no, just using it to get out. Interesting use of the ultimate there.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what J9's intention was with that Genji Blade, using it to thrash about. He's back to the pool noodle.
Simply couldn't, you know? There was simply too much pressure there, especially with the Orisa ult. It was like trying to cross a minefield. That is a really, really nice spear, and it's actually followed up with Pineapple onto J9 with the Kitsune Rush now, and these late kills as well. Oxford right now looking a lot healthier, a lot better on this point. Andreas has to punch out, has to be the one to touch. Key Dog gets into this, is able to actually pop the Kitsune Rush. A miracle could happen here if you're Warwick, but as they say, the miracle never happened.
No, Thrall there desperately trying to get back in time to get the touch, but not quite managing it. That was fantastic there. We were a little bit heartbroken that Oxford didn't manage to hold on to second point quite as we were hoping to see, but stopping it there, that's very respectable. Shambali is a very difficult map to fully complete, so I think, you know, Oxford, the battle lines have been drawn. They know where they need to get that payload to now, and fingers crossed they manage it.
Yeah, fingers crossed, toes crossed, eye crossed, everything that you could possibly want right now if you're a Warwick, if you're a Warwick fan trying to hold out onto this one. Imagine the scenes if Oxford are able to get to match point in a series with the defending University Esports champions. I would jump out of my chair, you would jump out of your chair, I would probably give you a big hug, maybe even a kiss on the cheek. Ooh. If you're so lucky. Ooh. It would be kind of wild because, again, it's been nothing but Warwick dominance thus far in the tournament. And remember, Oxford had to come through the lower bracket to get here. What a miracle run that would be. However, again, this is all hearsay. And Warwick sure as hell ain't out of this map just yet. It's not like Shambali is the easiest map to complete by any stretch of the imagination. No,
obviously you are a lot more integrated into the scene. I'm a relative newcomer. How long do you think it's been since Warwick has faced this level of competition?
I mean, if you're talking about the last time they lost University Esports, I genuinely don't remember.
There you go. That says it all, I think. That says all about the historic nature.
It's not like they have been unbeaten in that time, but in terms of coming at the end and being the champions, and obviously in other tournaments they've been beaten, but University Esports, yeah, the winter this year, summer, I believe, just the whole shebang.
So they have been the king to dethrone for quite a while now, and what's very interesting is we have Thrall on the Zenyatta now.
Okay.
So maybe trying to front load a little bit more of that just damage, just extra pressure onto the Orisa maps as we have a pause. Tragically, does give us a bit of a chance to maybe dissect the decision there to go over to the over onto the Zenyatta rather than the Lucio.
Well,
what do you make of that?
Well, first of all, an important point to make is that Thrall is a phenomenally good Zen player. Definitely has had to pick up the Lucio in recent seasons simply because of how strong Lucio is, but traditionally has and always maybe at heart will be a Zen player. And so kind of close to Thrall's heart, that one. But also, we've spoken at length about how Shambali, for it being an escort map, is pretty one-dimensional. It's very front-loaded, very heavy frontline damage focus, and you know that when you're dealing with that Orisa, they aren't going to press you out too much, so it's a case of play your distance right, make sure that your Kiriko still peels for you pretty effectively, because you do have to deal with a Tracer, Pineapple, the whole time. But what you know is that Pineapple is going to struggle to get round to you. You can probably find your value in the fight with the Discord and the long-range damage before you actually get taken down. You also do give yourself a distinct advantage in Tracer 1v1, simply putting a Harmony Orb on your Tracer when they kind of duel out that enemy Tracer. It neutralizes the threat, because your Tracer, provided that you're roughly equivalent skill levels, which we have been seeing thus far, your Tracer's always going to win those duels when a Harmony Orb is on them.
Yeah, and I think it is definitely a matter of trying to give your flanker J9 there on the Tracer, or sometimes the Genji, obviously being on and off. Mostly the Tracer, though. A little bit more of an advantage in those duels, and obviously you can apply a lot of extra pressure to the Orisa with that Discord Orb as well. So we're going to go into some replays now, so I hear, as we get these technical issues sorted. This pause shouldn't take too long, I don't think. This fantastic stall here from Oxford, just holding on for dear life. It's absolutely beautiful to see that re-engage. Fantastic. And this corner as well, the corner of death.
Yeah,
so many games end here.
I think this is where the issues kind of rose there. It wasn't necessarily the idea of Oxford, you want Oxford to hold there. Again, we aren't biased. Unless it's Nottingham. Unless it's X-City. He's a very handsome man. Hi, J9. Apparently, J9 says hi to me. I hope you're doing well. You did very well at Epic LAN. Phenomenal Tracer performance.
This is so rude.
Hope that things continue. I know, you weren't there.
Breaking my heart there, J9.
Yes. Anyway, I'm sure he also says hello to you as well. Yeah. We are trying to just sort through a couple of technical issues, so obviously giving us a minute to work through this. As I was saying, it's not necessarily that we love the fact that, we need Oxford to win right here. It's more, if they were going to do it, it was that corner. Because the moment that you push out of that cave, if you're Warwick, suddenly the map opens up. And you saw it in the next fight. It was relatively mostly won out by Matt Murray on a flank with an overclock. And it wasn't really able to get shut down here. As we come back in, and Finn instantly gets returned to sender.
I think that kunai was mid-air as the game paused. Unfortunately there, didn't really have a chance to react as we're back into the action now.
Yeah, sole survivor right now is Thrall on the Zen. Just chilling in the back. Again, tossing these meteors, if we recall, Zen right after the patch came out. That was pretty deadly. Still is pretty deadly. Which can just be shut down a little easier sometimes. Oxford look like they want to flip the map, actually make a big wraparound here. Warwick a little too stubborn to give up the point that easily.
What you can see here, though, is just how absolutely threatening Thrall is on that Zenyatta. It's just terrifying to aggress into. Rene doesn't mind, though. My guy's just going to blow the head off Matt Murray. And we can see Pineapple there getting discorded, but not really caring too much. Rene goes down.
Yeah, Rene felled there. Andreas needs to try and get out here, and is actually going to be taking Pineapple with them as they go. And yeah, this Zen pick really thrown Oxford for a loop. It's something new, it's something unexpected, but Shambali is a point where you can make that... It's a map where you can make that work, where you can make that happen.
Yeah, it's just so unexpected as we get up to the Transcendence now on the part of Thrall. This is, I think, really the big difference. It's just so much more damage coming out. The glass cannon that is Zenyatta, as you see there, just blind firing these angles, hoping to get somebody's head off. It's just so meaningful, especially for a composition which is so I don't want to say one-dimensional, more stationary, such as the Orisa here, where you put that Discord on and suddenly it's 30% or so more DPS. There you
Well,
go, fight's over.
That's it. Back to the spawn room. Before we could finish a human thought, J9 has killed 3 people. The hello buff goes absolutely crazy. And Warwick, this is what we know now. Whenever we see such a dominant display on, it's more like, yeah, this is the Warwick that we know. These are the people who are the reigning champs. These are the people who dominate the scene for so long and rarely, if ever, make these kinds of big mistakes.
Yeah, you can see Oxford desperately trying to figure out which rotation they want to take. They keep going onto this high ground, but just getting melted down gradually. They've only got a minute left now. Renee does have that high noon, which is, tend to be effective zoning tool and the odd elimination, but I'm not sure he's going to see much value out of it right now. And Thrall still has that transcendence as well.
Yeah, not quite the sound barrier, but still a pretty damn good defensive ultimate there. Andreas, quick thinking, ends up getting out of a sticky situation there with the Meteor Strike. Pops right onto the point with it, but ends up backing up, and finally some space has been forced to be conceded by Warwick. But 30 seconds on the clock, and Matt Murray's got an angle, can try and make something out of it. That's the speed right through the middle, though, and Oxford getting absolutely brutalized here. Taranti's beat is good to keep them all up in this fight, keep them all healthy. Matt Murray pressured out on this angle, but the healing is pretty good. You give yourself a little more output of that with the Zenyatta right now. As we turn around this corner, Oxford have used everything, and Warwick still have this overclock. It could be a victorious symphony here. Point is touched up by Light Void, but will be felled there, as there's nothing else that can be done right now for Oxford. They need to keep getting bodies on this point. They need to keep retouching it, but every time someone goes in, every time something happens, it's just disaster after disaster. Touches still coming through, and Thrall has actually been caught. It's Renee on the side with the shots once again, but Matt Murray simply too damn good, too damn accurate with it. Clean right now play is coming out. Key Dog has got back. That's a Kitsune Rush on the point. If you were dealing with frontline damage, you're dealing with even more right now. Light Void tries to step up, gets sent right back to the spawn room where that man belongs. Finn trying to work this one through, but Matt Murray, Andreas, you know him, you love him, or you hate him if you had the displeasure of playing against him. Ooh. And now we go to match point, and Warwick, they want the crown back. They aren't giving it up that easy.
A bit of a JoJo moment there. Andrea saying, you're approaching me on the Doomfist. The audacity required to try and step up to who is frequently, I thought rapidly rather, becoming the Doomfist king of the University Esports scene there.
Are there any others?
Well, I mean, Light Void had a go.
Yeah, clearly.
Not particularly effective, though. A bit of a unsuccessful coup d'etat there. Not particularly effective at all. Heartbreaking, but Oxford just not able to get it round that second corner. They had a really, really good go of it. They had a few nail-biting recontests, but it's Warwick.
Yeah, seems like, we have more replays that are going to be showing what happened there. And, Warwick having stuff in their back pocket for, do-or-die situation like this. If you're going to savor, we're going to inexplicably run a Zen on Shambali, and you people are going to have to deal with it. Why not do it in the finals? That's probably the spot to do it. Obviously, all these teams are competing for some pretty nice cash prizes, some pretty nice gift cards, some vouchers, I believe, that can, they can spend it on maybe, I don't know, headsets, meal deals, a couple of curly whirlies, whatever they may please.
The only things that have any true meaning in a gamer's life: headsets, meal deals, and curly whirlies.
Yes.
I rate that, to be honest. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful, as we go on to match point now for Warwick. It's all to play for. All the marbles are on the table.
Yes.
The die has been cast. The Rubicon is about to be crossed. How many more ways can we say this?
Well, we do know that the next map type is going to be Control when we go to that. And if we recall, that was open up with a win for... That did open up with a win for Oxford. We were discussing this earlier about how their style really favors that kind of... anything where you have to play point, anything that's fast-paced, which is a little odd because you might look at their composition and think, well, this isn't a fast comp. It's an Orisa, it's a Cass, it's a Kiriko. Like, you're kind of playing your angles, you're playing your time, you're sitting in place for as long as you can, to put it bluntly. But the point pressure is a big thing, and when you have those fast-paced points, you can just kind of sit yourself on these good angles, and the time frame that Warwick has to be able to answer back to you is greatly diminished. And when they're eventually forced to, that's when mistakes are made. That's when Renee and Pineapple and Light Void and Taranti and everyone on this roster, including Name of the Flex Support, who I unfortunately briefly forgot, that's not personal, I promise, is able to do work. Because when you have to fight into the enemy team, they inherently have an advantage.
Yeah, Control was an absolute slobber knocker on Lijiang Tower. We're not going to see Lijiang Tower again, unfortunately. But we are going to go to one of the other Control maps. The question is, which one does Oxford want
Nepal,
to go
Samoa, Oasis. And it is going to be Nepal, as a matter of fact, picked up by Oxford here. Yeah, it makes sense. Of the ones to go for, I think Samoa's still kind of being figured out exactly what the best play on that is. Ilios, a little too open some of the time. You know, you think of Lighthouse, you kind of think of Ruins, you think of Well, which are points which work very, very well.
Yeah.
No pun intended, for the Warwick composition, so it has to be Nepal, right? And again, it is really Oxford having to kind of counter-comp around Warwick here. It's pretty awkward to do, but they're sure as hell capable of it. We've seen some phenomenal play from Oxford this time. Being able to take 2 maps off the reigning champions, no mean feat in the slightest, and given how Control went last time, I mean, 7 maps.
7 maps.
It's possible.
It's possible. Question I've got for you, though, if we're going to Nepal, if we go to Sanctum, what are the odds on that we get an elimination? Hopefully at least one elimination. Environmental elimination.
I would
is what
be
I meant.
surprised if we went to Sanctum and there was 0 eliminations the entire game. That would be
very impressive.
That would either be some of the best Overwatch that we've ever seen or some of the worst. And there's no in between.
Yeah.
Environmentals, I mean, again, this is something that we were kind of discussing as a Nottingham team when we were trying to deal with Warwick. The answer is none of it mattered. We got brutally 3-0'd. However, what we were kind of noticing is that Thrall has picked up the Lucio phenomenally well and is very good at it, but also hasn't necessarily mastered it simply because, as we said earlier, it's not necessarily his main character. That would be the Zen. Picking up main support, no matter how long you play it for, no matter how much experience, there's always going to be someone who's played it a little bit longer than you. We were kind of thinking, well, there are odd occasions where Thrall feeds a little bit, or the movement isn't exactly on point, and it's something that can be caught out by a hit scan. The margin for error at this level is so slim, and if you're playing Lucio, there is a knife's edge between Deadly Assassin, who is doing everything and nothing at the same time, or Derp Frog. And it's a very thin line to cross.
Yes, the need for speed versus need for feed.
Yes.
I think Lucio is a character with obviously a very, very high skill ceiling, but he's got a pretty high skill floor as well. He's not a character that you can just pick up and play. You know, no bad-mouthing to the people who play Moira, for example, but Moira mechanically is a much more simple character in comparison to something like the Lucio, where, you know, you've got so many moving parts to deal with. The wall riding mechanics, the projectiles are a bit wonky, pardon me. Slip of the tongue there. It's all right, we'll edit it out. The projectiles are a bit wonky.
We're live, pal. We're live, pal.
Oh, I'm sure we've had worse. And it's production telling me I'm fired, so we may as well go out with a bang on this one. It's my first finals broadcast. It's going to be my last one, so fingers crossed it is a map 7. Let's hope that Oxford manage to pull Nepal out the bag. And we are going to Sanctum here. So
hopefully we see at least one elimination. That would be good. I'd like it.
And hopefully that one elimination is an environmental elimination as well. Righto. And I don't think we're going to see any compositional surprises here. Thrall is showing the Lucio once again. I feel like the Zenyatta was a bit of a pocket pick for that Shambali Monastery, or Shambolic Monastery as I like to call it. And as we roll out of the gate now, they're going to have a bit of a tug-of-war over this bridge left-hand side section as we approach from the Warwick side of things. Going to try and take control of that first.
Oh, there's a big fight feel in the air right now, and Finn, surely feeling the fight portion of that, gets slammed up against the wall by Andreas and being forced out here. But I was explaining, big fight feel, because Warwick on the precipice right now of just taking this series, going for it again. Warwick are used to playing in these tournament environments more, where the nerves could get on top of you, things might take a little more time, and they're less likely to get fatigued because of that.
Yeah, your back is against the wall if you are Oxford, and it's worth pointing out now, for the first time in any of the points we've played on Control so far, Warwick get the first cap. And all three on Lee Jang, it was Oxford's game, they opened it up and they got the cap to start off with.
Yeah, however, Andreas went in very aggressive there and got hit with the let's bully Andreas Calverclade. It seems to be, again, it's 50-50 whether it works for Oxford, but we've mentioned that this point is where it worked here. And now I think a lot of the key here is going to be setting up Renee to overlook a good chunk of this space and stop the jumps in and the dives before they come through. It is crucial to apply pressure to the DPS and the tanks before they even touch you, because generally if they're on top of you, it's already far too late by that point. So Andreas does want to work his way in here, and again, the duel won out here. Pineapple putting in a phenomenal performance thus far on the Tracer, has really had J9's number, it seems like more often than not. And again, for a Tracer the caliber of J9, that sure as hell ain't common.
No, Pineapple doing fantastic work there, up to and including the point at which his head gets taken off by Matt Murray's railgun there. What you can see here as well is that Warwick are really determined to keep harassing on that point. Oxford want to hold on to this high ground section, and Warwick want to try and divert their attention over onto the point. Just oh no! You don't peek that, homie!
J9's pinky toe was poking out and Renee shot it clean off, and J9 screamed and bled out so hard that he got instantly flattened.
Oh dear.
Murderous intent from Renee right there. Peeking that at the time was a hell of a thing as we get to 80% on this point. Firmly final fight territory.
You cannot afford to make these mistakes at this level.
That being said, Warwick do have a big stack of ultimates to work with. Light Void sure as hell don't care. It's just kind of going on a solo mission right now and wanted to sync up the pulse bomb with Pineapple, but Pineapple got forced out, and now Oxford seems stuck up here. Taranti did get the damage through, and the punch onto Andreas looked like it could have done a whole lot, but instead just delivered the members of Oxford safely onto the point right now. So Andreas going to be dealing and taking a whole lot of damage right now. Still trying to retouch onto this one, but even if it's able to, that is a whole lot of shielding. But it's all a matter of time right now. We mentioned that Oxford can just win these points out right now, unless Matt Murray has something to say about it. On the angle, Warwick, we've spoken about this. Don't do this to me, because they're touching here, and now Thrall has a beat as well, and they're nice and tanky on the point. Light Void tries to stay alive. Long range spear here, and that is the wonderful shot. Just threading the needle onto Finn right there. And Warwick, we talked about this. You're giving me a heart attack. I'm going to need some damn iron tablets right now.
This is just not okay. You can't be playing with us like this. Oxford had that in the bag, and just somehow they're juggling, keeping that overtime wick burning down as Matt Murray positions himself on the off angle and just absolutely rail guns down. Holy fury, frankly, on top of Oxford there. That shouldn't be allowed to happen. They should have won that. They just lacked the decisive picks.
Oh, speaking of decisive picks, J9's been caught by Finn again, and that's Key Dog being felled here. Look, Warwick have made more impossible things happen, and as I say that, they're still getting kills. They're still doing it again. Light Void is in the drink off the back of that boop, and Taranti is dead. Pineapple is just doing a devil's dance right now on this side here. Renee tries to get back on the point, has this Cassidy ultimate to try and zone out the space. There's the pulse bomb, but the Suzu was perfect. Flip does actually go the way here of Oxford briefly, but it's all really going to be for naught right now. Could potentially allow Oxford some room to work through here, but Thrall was caught wall riding at a very cheeky angle and had to be contended with the death. Renee did get deleted from the game. Andreas wants to put a stop to that cowboy soon as humanly possible right now, but this has stalled out time. This has stalled things out here for Oxford just a little bit now. That is going to be the force out there. Andreas forced to jump up into the sky. Wait, pick your point, pick your poison where you can. Matt Murray not actually dying there, and Oxford still want to pressure out this point. Renee has swapped over to a real character, apparently, going over to that Soldier 76. Thrall managing to get back, retouch this one up, falling so low, is eventually felled. Renee tracking this one through the beat, not out in time. Not out in time to save Lightvoid, but it's still good for the rest of the roster. And Pineapple with a beautiful stick right there. Cancelled out, not quite getting the value you want, but still by the brink of it. And on the skin of their teeth, it's going to be Oxford taking another point. And I think we're all feeling pretty giddy about this series now.
I'm going lightheaded, and I wasn't even cast in that fight play-by-play. God knows how my guy is holding up. That was immense. It took...
With difficulty. That is the answer.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, Oxford only managed to flip the point and get it to overtime 3 separate times before they finally managed to sweep the Dust Devils of Warwick off the point and hold on to it. That was absolutely skin of the teeth stuff. And this is sort of what we're talking about when we say it's the absolute crunch time experience from Warwick. This is a very seasoned roster. They've been in lots and lots of finals and they've won plenty of them, and they are just holding their heads. They're re-engaging perfectly. They're doing a phenomenal job of managing these overtimes. They're just barely holding on so often to get back into it. No compositional surprises on this one as Andreas poking and trying to go to point. This is not a good point for the Doomfist, in my personal opinion.
It's really rough, though. A lot of teams can fall into the trap of playing point a little too hard and kind of getting bullied for it, which isn't really ideal. But Oxford seem to have a little bit too much wherewithal for that. You can see Warwick, yeah, they're taking the fight away here, just letting Thrall touch up here, but Renee... Someone check Renee PC. Like, him strong player, but this is just not normally.
It's not normally. Checking P, this is unbelievable. Just absolutely laser gunning down that Lucio there. Plenty of pressure going on, of course, from Pineapple. Let's not discount that, but that was the big pick. That blew it wide open. There's so much healing and so much utility from that Lucio that as soon as he goes down, it's game over. Speaking of, the same can be said for Orisa, though. Unfortunate.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, Oxford not really able to get a whole lot of touches coming through onto that point either. Really rough time there to have to... Really rough to have to contend with that one. You go down early and you only get 14% on the point. Warwick able to stall that one out more than you. It's pretty bad in terms of timing.
Yeah, and I think this really is the point that you do want to hold on to if you're Oxford. This is, I think, just on paper at least, the best point for this Orisa composition. So hopefully they do manage to bring it up. We've got Pineapple here pressuring the point a little bit whilst Rene channels that high noon and just deletes Mafia style, executes Andreas there.
Yeah, and in that Warwick they did just give the point over, and that is a beautiful spear to take some space out onto Matt Murray. Finn was felled there, a lot of healing is gone for Oxford. Matt Murray thinks, I can make something out of this, I can make anything out of this. Pineapple felled, 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, 4. Maybe even a couple of more right now for Matt Murray. The aficionado on the Sojourn right now. Say he's a controller player, say he's using aimbot, say whatever you will. Man's an absolute nutcase.
Well, I hope he's not using aimbot, although
that would be bad.
Explain. That would be a checked in PC, this not normally moment. Andreas now with that Meteor Strike. He's probably going to use this more as a defensive tool to get out once he engages nice and deep, especially given that his power block's been cancelled there. Yeah, which is out as well.
Ooh, Keydog felled there. That was just a light void walking kind of moment. Not really what you expect to see. Pineapple traded out in the meanwhile. However, Matt Murray's so incredibly low, but the disruption is so good from Warwick, and no one can get onto this Sojourn, this ever-present threat in the very back. Oxford don't have range in their composition. Technically, Orisa has range, but there's never really played that way. And it is just going to be another fight going the way of Warwick here. And losing this point will be pretty disastrous for Oxford.
That's when you consider the third point. This is the one that you want to win, as we have that Terror Surge get channeled. Nothing out of it, though. You can see Andreas is just bullying this Orisa. This is not how the script is written. It's not how it usually goes. It's the other way around.
Yeah, and it is going to be Pineapple forced out here on the Tracer. We're approaching 99% on the point. Renee is overlooking it right now, keeping a watchful eye of things, and Andreas wanted to stun that one up, but Finn is caught! Matt Murray landing the shot at the crucial time. It's the duel now, but not quite a duel because the rest of Warwick are here in droves to help out right now, and that is a victory over clock as well. Oh, they're about to do it again, Nagley. They're about to become your back-to-back champions, Oxford. You need to do something if you want to stop this one, because right now, Warwick are on the knife's edge of reclaiming that crown.
Well, you know what they say, don't count your chickens until the fat lady sings. What? I'm sure it's something along those lines. we'll get on the internet in a bit and figure that one out. But yes, I mean, this is the tiebreaker match point, literally now for Warwick, and proof if it were needed. Matt Murray double tapping the basketball into the hoop there. If he gets 3, he's definitely going to win. That's how that works. That's my personal fortune telling. If you get the ball through the hoop, you can't lose. Those are the rules.
Yeah, in an ideal world, yeah. Something that's going to have to be proved here as we come out onto what could be the final point for University Esports Spring 2024 Overwatch. Oh boy, Oxford, you gotta make something happen here. Warwick do like to play their sports on this high ground quite often right now, and Oxford have kind of struggled to contest that. Renee takes this angle. It's really cheeky and still actually trying to pressure out, but the rest of Oxford is here. The cavalry's here, and they're here to help out Renee, but who isn't. It is going to be a couple of resources now forced out for Oxford, and any time that Oxford try and step on this point very tentatively. Never mind. Analysis out the window. Renee clicked on your head, and Neo dodges that shot. Neo dodges the punch as well. Renee is going nuts. Renee is going crazy.
We're back to the Ultra Instinct theme. I don't know how he managed to just weave Nation his way out of that one, but my God, did he. Fantastic. And I was going to talk about the pressure that Renee must be feeling. You know, as the Cassidy, it's sort of Renee's job here to shut down this Doomfist, who has been running rampant all over his team so far, and now your back is really against the wall. As I say, it's, you know, a map point, match point, championship point, everything is up for grabs near for Warwick. And so Renee must really be sweating, but he's holding it together, weaving his way out of the way of these Doomfist punches, and just clicking on heads. What a unit.
Yeah, right now Renee looking like AK with a couple of 9s right now on the other side of things. Andreas bullied out here on the point a little bit, but has this central cover to play around. Tries to get an angle here. Sure as hell gets a lot of ult charge out of that, but gets pushed all the way back. Has to actually use a punch, and that's actually going to be Pineapple caught in it, not being felled, however. Instead, it's Key Dog who ends up going the way of the dinosaur. Absolutely extinct right now. Shot onto Finn is good, though. That's the damage that you need. Those are the picks that you need right now, as Renee wants to deal with J9, but that's a hell of a lot easier said than done. The protection needs to come through, but you just don't know where to look. There's Tracer to the left of me, Matt Murray to the right, and here I am stuck in the middle with you.
You could see the way that as soon as Andreas engaged, the entirety of the Oxford Omnics did a 180 and just tried to collapse on him. And more or less the same can be said for Warwick turning around and just collapsing on Renee. It looks like they're finally going to get the cap eventually here. It's about 77% or so for Oxford. Are they going to be able to reclaim it though? That's the question.
One fight. Oxford have one fight to keep them in this series, to keep their hopes of being champions alive. They have several attempts at it, but if they do not win a fight in the next 2 minutes or so, it's over. Yep. And Warwick claim back-to-back champions, as J9 gets a bit of a reckoning call there from Renee, being forced off of this point right now. Can pop this Deadeye and just uses it to front load the damage onto Andreas. There's a Kitsune rush here. Warwick, though, they have the chance to do it again unless Light Void has something to say about it, but Taranti's beat this time is good. Matt Murray's overclock not going to be the decisive factor here, not going to be the coup de grace in the dreams of the Oxford Omnics as they take the initiative. They push forward now. Andreas already back in the fight. This is the problem with dealing with a Doomfist composition, and this is the problem with dealing with Andreas. Sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you're just going to kill your backliners, and you can't do a thing about it. As Taranti gets flung right up into the skybox there. Skeet shooting for Matt Murray right now. Clay pigeon even. And Jesus, Renee has to reset that one quick because Oxford still aren't winning the fight, Sal.
They still aren't winning the fight, and it's equalising rapidly. Those percentages are levelling out as we speak. Now, Warwick Angels did use an awful lot of their ultimates. They used all 5 of them by the looks of it. But Oxford Omnics, honestly, they're not looking too much better. Yes, they do have that Kitsune rush, and yes, in a long enough fight, they might manage to build back up that Terror Surge, but the Terror Surge isn't particularly helpful as an ultimate, and if your Kiriko's going to get dinged...
Finn's dead! Finn's dead! Had the Kitsune rush! That's your main source of healing! Oxford have nothing left in this fight! There's nothing left for them now! They have to reset this one so quick. Pineapple has to play on an angle, has to pull off some kind of miracle. There has to be something, anything happening right now if you're Oxford to win this one out. Can you even get this retouch in? as that is going to be crucial. Finn does pop the Kitsune Rush. Touch is through. Their dream is not yet dead currently. Stun up onto Andreas. Again, front load that damage as much as you can while you still can. There's a Tracer falls low on the side. Renee has made the swap over. Pineapple has the... yes, it was the Pulse Bomb, and it managed to catch onto Thrall, but the Tracer is traded out now. Still so even. Andreas, too much damage. It is overwhelming, and that is the damage that came through. Exactly what you want. Gonna be Light Void spinning the spear in the middle of that point right now, and Oxford still somehow winning this one out. They're making it happen at the last hour here. But remember, this is not over for Warwick. 80%, they can still retouch this. They can still claim the title right here, right now.
And Matt Murray has that overclock, Keydog has that Kitsune Rush, Thrall has that Sound Barrier, and Andreas has that Meteor Strike, or at least will do by the time we get anywhere near the end of this map. This is really coming down to the wire now. The biblically accurate Warwick Angels are hovering above Oxford's hope of the championship, whispering, "Be not afraid." They should be.
Yeah. Touch did come through here. Honestly, Oxford need to give a little bit of space, a little bit of time. They need this beat, and they need it yesterday. Is going to come out here. Matt Murray not going to be finding the value that you want with his overclock right now. Point flip the way of Warwick is pretty unfortunate for Oxford right now because they need to keep touching this, and Light Void down! That heralds disaster for the rest of the Omnics right now. They could be losing this one all the way out here as Warwick is so solid on this point. They have the damage, they have the picks. And ladies and gentlemen, long live the Kings as the Warwick Angels claim yet another University Esports Championship.
My God, they had to sweat for it though. Oxford, I think, honestly, it was the surprise here is not that Warwick won. The surprise is that Oxford really made them sweat for it. They were very much considered the underdogs going into that, and as much as it has been borne out, they punched so far above their weight. None of us here in the studio expected this to go to a 5th map. We were all, there was whispers, will it be another 4-0, 4 Overwatch, etc. But we got that, and what an end to this season of University Esports.
You know, we got our value out of the venue. You know, you
Yes,
come to a
we
place
did.
like Confetti. You come to a place like Confetti, right? And you have to make the most of it, right? Imagine coming all the way out here just for a 4-0. You know, would have been
tragic.
a little disappointing. You know, the good old Red Arrow wouldn't have been a particularly great service there, but just absolutely phenomenal play from Warwick. At the end of the day, they are the champs for a reason. Oxford, they did so damn good, and they were so damn close, and they was a single fight away, a single pick, a single decision away from winning out on Nepal and bringing us to that decider map. It was just too little too late, and they had shot their own economy. Renee was forced to swap over onto the Soldier, couldn't get value on the Cass and had to play defensive the whole time. Warwick had too many ults and the beat just wasn't good enough from Taranti. You didn't get value within that time frame, and Warwick brutally punished Oxford for it.
Yeah, I think ultimately it was a game of inches, ultimately. You know, it really did seem to just come down to an experience diff. You know, Warwick, they kept their head. They kept on pushing, they knew when they needed to push, they knew when they needed to reset, and they reset nice and quick, and they came back in, they held on to their ultimates for those clutch moments, and it's paid off. They've had the championship now once again. Oof. They remain the team to beat. Commiserations to Oxford though. They are my heroes.
Yeah, long live the Kings, right? Before we headed off and before we did our outros, I just wanted to get a quick ask. Player of the match, who do you think?
Does it have to be from Warwick?
Yes.
Damn. I think player of the match then, it does have to be Andreas. Personally. It was the linchpin of the composition. It's what blew open all of these fights. It was the player to take down if you're the Oxford Omnics, so I think for me.
I mean, that would be an easy shout. I think I would have to agree. Simply because, like, you do build the composition around the Doomfist. You know, generally with most teams when they're trying to metagame something or invent a new strat, it's more a case of, okay, this is our centerpiece, this is our linchpin, and everything will work around that. Andreas is the linchpin. And even the fact that was won 4 maps playing into one of the most anti-Doom compositions that we've seen with Orisa and Cass and Lucia, just all these characters. Andreas was still able to play patient, and whenever the map was in his favor, just did absolute work. But all of Warwick really showed up in a big way. All of Oxford really showed up in a big way. And, I mean, that's it from us.
GG's, Fat Rims, well done to the victors there. We'll see you next season.
There's a lot of people that we need to talk about before we head off. Obviously, we are running this event from the Confetti studio in Nottingham. Nottingham, one of the better places, but we've got a huge host of students right now who are working downstairs, working overtime, doing a phenomenal job getting this all set up together. Obviously, we have Nagli Pins here. First time on the mic. Has done an absolutely phenomenal job right now. And of course, all the players, everyone who's watching, everyone who's taking part in this, it's been absolutely phenomenal. It has been a wonderful season for Spring right now. However, this week isn't done. We have, I believe, 3 more broadcasts live from this studio in the coming few days as well. So do keep an eye on the Nil Twitch for that. It's going to be similar times every evening this weekday, I believe. In the meantime, Nagli and Egg to the Runa, thank you all for watching. It's been a hell of a series, been a hell of a season, and maybe see you in summer.